Shut up, fool!
Stop listening to atheist YouTubers.
Hey, man! This makes sense!
Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. To me, this was flagrant.
But I can admit it. Jesus drowned babies. Get over it.
It always gets me. This is why I love doing this sort of thing. Theists say the darndest things sometimes. I got an email just before I went live, and it was from a theist who, how do I put this? We've butted heads. There's been a lot of friction between us. He's a YouTube creator, or at least was. And he sent me an email today, and I guess he has watched some of my recent content. And he basically in support of what I'm doing. And thinking that I've had this coming to God moment because of my recent content about politics, which we're not going to talk about today, people. This is Theist Thursday. But I just want to say this about this theist, that it's setting up this really bizarre dynamic where I'm thinking, I'm not even quite sure what's going to happen if theists are going to be more apt to talk to me or more apt not to, because they like what I'm doing with the other stuff, the political stuff, and they kind of like, shh, let's just let Doug do what he wants to do because we actually like it. Let's not push back on Doug, because then if he doesn't like us, then maybe he'll end up being like the people we don't want. I don't know. It's a really weird dynamic that's going on. I can't quite explain it. It's like there's cognitive dissonance being set up between me and theists and me and atheists, and nobody knows what to think of it, I don't think. A guy on Twitter asked me yesterday, have you always been a conservative? It's certain people can't fathom the idea that you can be atheist and conservative. It's just like Mr. Deity, for example. It just. But again, we're not here to talk politics. I want to set up a poll about Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I always think of Aladdin when I say that name. In fact, here's a great idea for theists. Apparently, Ayaan Hirsi Ali has just become a Christian. What you should do is you should take a clip of Aladdin, where Prince Ali goes into the kingdom with his entourage, and it's a big musical number, and then just put Ayaan Hirsi Ali's face there, like being welcomed into the kingdom of Christianity. You're welcome. But I want to ask a poll question here. Is Ayaan, how do you spell her name? Ayaan Hirsi Ali's recent conversion to Christianity a good thing? Lean yes, lean no. I mean, this could be interpreted in so many different ways, so you can interpret that question the way you want. And I'm very curious to see where people are at on this. Let me bring this up. And I know that not too many people are here. Oh, we've got 100 people here already. Excellent. Thank you for being here. If you're new here, welcome. Me and Myron, my producer, welcome you. The people at the head office in Wichita, the hundreds of employees that keep this show going, they welcome you. Know that you're loved and accepted for who you are. Unless you're a rapist, a murderer, a pedophile, then we view you as subhuman. Oh no. This is interesting. So far, we're over the 30 vote number, which means it's now a representative sample, right? So far, it's 63. You know what's interesting about this? Oh, I shouldn't say it. Because, again, this is Theist Thursday, no politics, but this is like the same percentage, I've bet you, of conservative versus non-conservative people watching my channel. You have to click. My poll box just shows a big white blank. Try clicking on the blue color. It's not the conversion that's the problem. It's the reason for the conversion. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. In fact, while the people are answering the poll, let me say this. When I was a Christian, I remember hearing conversion stories as a Christian and thinking, it never excited me. And here's why. Because I thought to myself, as a true Christian myself, at the time, I thought, well, I don't know if these are true Christians. I mean, we know the stats that a lot of kids who come to Christ, they probably will fall away 5 years later or sooner. And we know that a lot of people claim to be Christians are not true Christians. So only God knows. It's amazing I never became a Calvinist, because I never was. Because, I couldn't accept God being a schmuck. But I always doubted conversion stories as a Christian. And I bet you, even though a lot of Christians won't come out and admit this, I bet you they do too. And so if you hear a Christian kind of lauding Ayaan Hirsi Ali's decision here, please know there's probably many, many Christians who are very skeptical. Who thinks her conversion will last? Well, I honestly don't know. And it depends what she means by Christianity. But I found this this article, I think through Sean McDowell. It's a mere orthodoxy. So I'm not sure what that means. But it basically says that it gives a bit of a background. But it mentions that what some people in this chat have been talking about. Meanwhile, other Christians, upon reading her commentary, have argued that hers is something of a conversion of convenience, an act driven by more by political concerns and pragmatism than by sincere belief. Okay, now as an atheist, let's tie this in with the poll. As an atheist, I can say, yeah, it's a conversion of convenience driven by political concerns and pragmatism. I could say, what's so bad about that? If there's a need in someone's life and they're finding a solution to that need, who cares if it's convenient, right? Who cares what the motive might be? And I'm all for pragmatism. Like if someone's sad, shouldn't they take steps to be unsad? But Doug, what if it's not true? Well, this happens all the time. We believe these convenient lies to help us survive. In fact, this is like philosophers like Plantinga, that's his point. Naturalism is about survival. It's not about finding truth. And so if you can survive better by believing false things, I'm not saying I agree with all this, but you have to admit this is what happens. I think what most people would admit and agree with me on is that, especially this, that fantasy is always better than reality. Reality sucks. And fantasy, like religion, can give people a sincere sense of hope. And I think she mentions this here. While understandable given the way the faith can and often be instrumentalized, I think it's wrong to... I think That is a wrong response to Ali's testimony. There are two reasons why I think this. So the author is saying that we shouldn't just say this is a matter of convenience in politics or pragmatism. First, Ali's own words suggest that her move towards Christianity has contained a personal element of belief, some kind of encounter with God. And then he quotes her, "Yet I would not be truthful if I had attributed my embrace of Christianity solely to the realization that atheism is too weak and divisive a doctrine to fortify us against a menacing foes." Well, let me say this. Atheism has no doctrine other than no belief in God, that the statement God or gods exist is false. That's it. So she's right. Atheism is weak in terms of bringing people together. There is no such thing as an atheist community. There's communities of atheists who like street epistemology, for example. There's communities of atheists who believe certain political views. But atheism as a shared belief in no God, no. That's not strong enough to build a community. In fact, it's a feature of religion, not a bug of religion, that the more crazy the belief, the stronger the adherence to the belief. Someone walking on water, you believe that too? I do too. I mean, the fact that it's so crazy brings people tighter together. Ali says, "I've also returned to Christianity because I ultimately found life without any spiritual solace endurable. Indeed, very nearly self-destructive. Atheism failed to answer a simple question: what is the meaning and purpose of life?" Well, if you're talking about ultimate meaning and ultimate purpose of life, I agree with Dawkins. Atheism does not fail to answer that simple question. It does answer that simple question. What is the meaning and purpose of life? None. But on an individual level, here on planet Earth, we give it meaning. This is why there's religion, folks, because what I just said is true, and most people can't handle that truth. Like if you're a naturalist, and if what you mean by meaning and purpose is this sense of ultimate meaning and purpose, that there is a reason we're here. If you're a naturalist, I think you can't say that there's a reason we're here. The best you can say is, it's a brute fact, we're here. And for some people, they just can't handle that answer. But I do want to say that when Ali says that this spiritual solace, like I don't feel I need any of that. I don't even know what spiritual means. If what you mean by spiritual is this intangible, supernatural type thing, yeah, I don't understand that. But there's many atheists who would say just going out to watch a beautiful sunset is a spiritual experience with no supernatural, no God required. So it's obvious Ali is looking for something more than just a beautiful sunset. She never uses this word in her piece. This is the author speaking, but to me that sounds like a longing for grace. Well, that's because you're a Christian. No surprise that one won't find grace in Islam, the religion of her youth. Oh, fun fact, you won't find grace in the Gospels either, only in Paul's letters. Nor will one find it in new atheism of her later years, and yet I think we humans ultimately find it hard to live without grace. I have thought more than once of this passage from Melanchthon in recent years, which he talks about existential need for mercy. And then he quotes some person. Just talks about grace. Yeah. Her, Mrs. Ali does not, I bet money on this, she does not believe that Jesus was God incarnate, walked on water, and rose from the dead. I'm quite convinced. I'm quite sure, I should say, quite confident. She does not believe that. Will she believe that in the future? Who knows? But I think at this point, she has just become some type of cultural Christian as a way to find community. And 60% of you say that her conversion was not a good thing. 40% say it was a good thing. My answer, if it helps her, and she doesn't become crazy, good thing. If she has this existential angst and is becoming depressed, nihilistic, suicidal even, I don't know her life, and Christianity can help her with that, cultural Christianity can help her with that, I say good thing. And for those atheists out there who think, no, this is definitely a bad thing, I think you have to really ask yourself, where you draw the line between the well-being and happiness and flourishing of an individual, and whether that's based on something you deem false or not. Like, where's that line? What about her influence, PineCreek? Does that factor into it for you? Not really. What you're asking, Nathan, is what if because of her conversion to this version of cultural Christianity, which I'm sure that's all it is right now, what if more people atheists become Christian because of that? My answer is going to shock you. It won't bother me. Like, when I say I really don't care that much if people stay Christians or not, I mean it. It's what you do with that Christianity that's the real issue, right? Like, are you raising your kids and putting fear and guilt in them, fear of like eternal conscious torment? Then I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. You got to keep in mind, there's a lot of Christians who don't believe that stuff. So it all depends what exactly her beliefs are, what exactly she does with it. Like, you can always ask these moral dilemma type questions. What would you rather have? A cultural Christian or an atheist that's a serial killer? Well, that's actually not a moral dilemma. Who here wants the cultural Christian? Who wants the atheist serial killer? Like, come on. It's a no-brainer. It all depends what you do with your beliefs or lack of beliefs or no beliefs. Same answer, Jethro. Let me open up the room. And again, this is Theist Thursday, and I know a lot of people hate talk political. And so I do think there's value in separating the days. So if people want to talk politics, they can call in on a different day. Which day? You just gotta hit your notifications button. I'm really bad at scheduling. I really hate it. To me, it's like a chain around my neck that forces you to do things in life. That's why I like the impromptu method. So if you're a theist, I actually today prefer, well, I'll say this, but it never ends up happening. I prefer you just ask me questions about why I don't believe or certain things that you think are true about your worldview that's not in mine. But if you want me to ask you questions, I can. My big thing is, this is where I have the desire to deconvert. When people's religion causes them so much angst, cognitive dissonance, and practical harmful implications in society, then I'll try to deconvert you. But we all differ on what's harmful for society. That's Eats Eating's, he's not going to talk about theism. Eats Eating, you got to talk about theism. This is not political day, okay?
everything's political, but we first met under religious issues. So let's talk religion.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm interested in why Ayaan Hirsi converted. She wants to find purpose. You've been a Christian. You know quite a bit about Christianity. You've been through quite a few denominations, I believe.
Yep.
What would for a Muslim, it's very simple. But I can't really work out what is the purpose. She wants to be a Christian because she wants to find purpose in life. Now, as quickly as you can, as a Christian, what is the purpose of life for a Christian?
To serve and worship God.
Where does it say that? Is there anything written about that, or is it something that
The greatest commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Then love your neighbor as yourself. Give all glory to God.
Okay, that's in Christianity and in Islam we have a
Same thing, right? In Islam.
yeah. It's even clearer. So it says we have made man, creation, jinn, everything for one purpose only, and that's to worship God. And then you think, what is worship? The Quran says worship is we're like caretakers of the earth. So we've got to take care of the earth. Is that what you think she wants to find purpose in? Is that her purpose to worship God?
I have no idea what's inside her brain. I can only go by the very short thing. Well, she's done interviews and I haven't watched them actually. I've only read her. I skimmed very quickly her blog post about it, and that was the big key thing I took away from it. That she wants this spiritual experience, meaning and purpose, and she thought atheism can't give that to her. And I think the way she's defining purpose and meaning, it's this grand, ultimate sense, and I would agree with her. She's not going to find that in atheism.
Do you think she thinks finding community, larger being part of a community?
Yeah, I think that's mostly
because
it.
Do you think would you imagine it's for personal, emotional, psychological reasons, or do you think it's for a wider political game she's playing? How can she best serve her political interests? I mean, we're not talking politics here, but with her knowing who she is, and I would say she's an Islamaphobe, definitely. To become a Christian would be serving. I think she's quite a strong psychological, emotional person. So I'm wondering, why on earth is she doing this? I don't think it's for psychological, emotional reasons. I think it's more to join a wider community of Islamophobes, and I'm not talking about the normal Christian on the street. I'm talking about the perhaps Zionist Christians who.
Here it comes.
And in fact, Christians, American Christians especially, they were the ones who invented this idea of a return to Israel.
Eats eating. Are you just sad she didn't become a Muslim again? Is that what this is about?
I mean, maybe she misses being a Muslim, but where you had strong spiritual connection. But I doubt it. I doubt she's looking for a strong spiritual connection with the God of the universe, someone to worship. It's community, and I don't think it's psychological, emotional. I just think she just wants to.
But you're speculating, right? As
I am.
As Trent Horn would say, it's all speculation.
But from her past to her present, I just think it's part of a wider political game she plays. She's playing her. She just wants to join a wider community of, in my
Does she
view,
have kids?
Haters.
She's married, right? Does she?
I'm not sure. I think she's married to a British historian, quite a impressive.
Can someone tell me in the live stream chat? Because I can just speculate like you, and for the atheists listening who are a certain way, you can close your ears because you're going to be very offended. but Eats Eating won't be offended. Like, she is female, right? And she, I think, doesn't have any kids. And so that is an argument that maybe it is psychological, that there's a need for this purpose. Like, if you are a woman and you don't have kids and you're not, I don't know, even active with kids in your community, I think we evolved. Now, you would have a different answer, more of an Islamic answer, that part of the purpose of a woman is to raise a family, right? As a naturalist, I would agree with you, but from an evolutionary standpoint. So maybe this hole in her heart is caused by this, which would go against this kind of political explanation you're giving. Admit it, Eats Eating, that's a good explanation.
It's a psychological one. It's an emotional one. I just think she's a.
Oh, she does have
she's a
kids.
very
Buckley
strong-
says so. That may throw my theory out the window.
But she's a very strong character. She's been through a lot. She was a member of parliament in Holland. She went through an assassination attempt. She went to America. She was a refugee from wherever it was, Somalia, Kenya.
Yeah, she's had a
She's
rough
been
life.
through a lot. She's had a rough life, but she's also had lots of doors open to her as well by the right wing.
But let's not beat around the bush. Let's not beat around the bush. Say what you really want to say.
Yeah, this is it. I'm saying it. She just wants to be part of that wider right wing community. In America, the right wing community is very much the conservative religious right. I'm not talking about your decent
And
Christian
that's
on the
bad
street.
because it hurts Muslims.
It doesn't necessarily, and no, I'm not saying it's bad. It definitely is bad, but I'm saying
I'm not saying it's bad, but it's bad.
definitely is right. But I'm not saying it's bad for her. It's good for her because she's joining a community which hates Muslims just as much as she does, and maybe even more. So that's my view. What? And anyway, I was going to talk about wokeness, but
Yeah,
maybe
no,
I should just leave now.
you can call back a different day and we'll talk about wokeness. But
Especially Rashida Tlaib being censored just for speech,
but
and
since
that's
we're both
really strange.
since we're both speculating here, and maybe she's actually been more clear because again, I haven't watched her verbally say things or listen to her. If her reason if her reason is purely psychological and that she's feeling sad and she needs some type of existential boost, do you support her in that?
Yes, I do, but I think it's just. But I would support her in that. She says she doesn't know much about Christianity. She says she doesn't know much about the Christian idea of God.
If I was still a Christian, I would never ever say that she's a Christian.
No, well, I don't know.
I would say maybe she is, but not definitely. Like, I mean, I would say
I think
what the Muslims say. Only God knows.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We cannot judge people's hearts, but I'm judging her. So sorry about that. But it just, to me, it's part of this. It'll open doors for her to join a wider community of haters. Anyway, PineCreek, I'll leave you with that thought, and maybe you've got some other people you want to talk to.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
We'll talk again, God willing. Bye.
Bye. Why doesn't my remove button? It always takes people a long time to get out of here, so I hit the remove button, but it doesn't work as fast as I would like. Just like Jordan Peterson, a cheerleader for Christian ethics. Well, Mrs. Apostate, can you name one thing you agree with Christian ethics on? I'm sure you can. Mashallah. What are some good Mennonite practices and values? Well, the big thing with Mennonites are pacifism. If you converted everybody in the Gaza area into Mennonites, there would be no war right now. Or Jainists. A Jainist or a good Jainist or a good Mennonite would say, hey, Israelites, you want to kill us? Go ahead. Just make it quick and painless. Do you think the number of wars in the world would go up or down if everybody became Amish or Mennonite? I'm betting down. So there are some great aspects of different Christian ethics. Theist Thursday. Let's keep this on theism, not so much on politics. And I know there's a mishmash of the two. Can't be helped. I understand that. And believe me, I love talking about really controversial stuff, but let's talk about something that's not controversial, like the existence of God. Because he clearly doesn't exist. Yeah, that's the problem, Mrs. Apostate. And I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a while. The problem is more and more people who get a true benefit from their beliefs just can't bring themselves to believe it anymore. And so now they have this problem. The belief gave them a benefit. Sure, there's also a cost, but it gave them a benefit. They lose the belief. That benefit's gone. Now what? Has to be replaced. Or not, I don't know. See, I never had that problem. I don't know why I'm so different. There was not this gaping hole in my heart after I left Christianity. To me, it was just relief. I don't have to try to make everything fit anymore. It was a huge relief. The cognitive dissonance went from like 99 down to 1. But for some people, they just get bitter and angry, need therapy. I admit, for me, that happened to me, but it was very short, just a few months. Because you have to live. Oh, I gotta test something. You have to live with the idea that you've been kind of lied to for most of your life. That takes some getting used to. Okay, I'm going to try something here. I might screw something up. You still hear me? Yeah? I think you can still hear me. 1, 2, test. Hey, it worked! Okay, you remember how I always had problems with my volume control? A guy in the comment section, oh, I wish I knew your name. He said, try this extension for Chrome, and I just did. This is the only solution I found that works. It's called, what extension is it? It's called the Disable Automatic Gain Control extension for Chrome. If anybody has the Blue Yeti, you need this. Oh, this is so good. I can't believe this. I don't have to fiddle with my input anymore. Who is the person who suggested that to me here? Whoever it was. You are better than Jesus. Because you're real. Yeah, after you leave a religion like Christianity, you appreciate the Bible, but in a different way. Like, I think I've come to appreciate just how well the New Testament authors plagiarized without citing their sources. Ooh, Oh, and Muslims. Hey, yeah, eats eating. This is for you if you're still listening. I admire the way the Quranic authors plagiarized from the New Testament, the Old Testament, and other sources. Oh,
Hey.
it's you.
Yeah, it's me. I'm just uploading a video. You know, I talked to Andrew Wilson for 30 minutes, and he asked me
really?
the same questions. He asked me the same questions he asked Dillahunty and stuff. It went pretty terrible the first 6 or 7 minutes. He kicked me, and then he let me back up, and then I had to behave myself. And then we had a
On what platform? On his YouTube channel?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Okay.
Yeah. But I thought you would be interested in that. But also, I had my question. So I've had a lot of Christians ask me recently why I don't attack Islam. Now,
And you told them
Maybe you
because
don't
you're a
see
Muslim.
because I wasn't a Muslim.
That you are a Muslim. You should have said that
Yeah,
and
well-
then smiled.
Yeah, they've been calling me, like, I think I learned a new word. Do you know what dhimmi is?
Yeah, it's basically a schmuck.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought I looked it up. I
Like
must have looked
it's
at
like
the wrong
a
word.
second-class citizen. Like, aren't Christians demis in Muslim eyes?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't. It's a new term, but the Christians have been calling me Dhimmi Danny.
The Christians are?
Because I've been what?
The Christians are calling you that?
Yeah, because I attacked the Trinity alongside with the Muslims, and they're not very happy about that. And then I gave. Okay, so can I tell you? I this is a bit of a confession. So when I went on TikTok, I gave my argument against the Trinity, and it was basically ignored, and I was irritated. So then I created a document with another person, just a whole layout of how to attack the Trinity, and then I intentionally distributed amongst all the Muslims, and now all the Muslims are running my arguments against the Trinity, and the Christians are really mad at me.
Oh,
that's what happened.
that's why. Okay, yeah. You should ask for royalties or at least donations from the Muslims.
Well, a lot. It's bizarre. Like everyone's running my argument on TikTok. All the Muslims are. At least they were.
Well, I should
But-
promote or distribute the solution to your argument.
Yeah, there you go. And you would be.
Yeah,
What would the Christian? What would the Muslims call you?
a demi. Yeah, and so the Christians,
Uh,
Muslims, you buy Danny's stuff, and then you buy my stuff. I will give you the solution to Danny's argument. Danny's argument is basically that it's illogical. The concept of the Trinity is basically illogical, and when you do strict identity. And my solution to that argument is you're using the wrong logic.
Use spiritual logic, spiritual math.
Exactly.
But seriously, aside from that, like I actually don't really like. I like talking to Christians more than I like talking to Muslims, and I'm trying to analyze why. And I came up with a few reasons.
Really?
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
I would say they're both equally as bad.
Yeah, but if you had to have an hour conversation with the average Muslim versus the average Christian, who would you rather speak to?
Well, it's because I used to be a Christian, I would have to go with a Christian. But that's only, if I used to be a Muslim, I definitely would say Muslim. But if I imagine myself being like very few people who are born and raised atheist, I would say they're about equal.
Okay, so I have a few reasons. So that's the main reason why I think I tend to talk to Christians more, because I'm more familiar with it. I came from it. My family is Christian, so that's. But there are other reasons too. Number one, I think Christians are better sports on average.
I don't know if I would agree
Like
with that.
if you attack Muhammad, right, the average Muslim is going to be more sensitive to that than if you attack Jesus. Am I wrong? In fact, a lot of the Muslims will criticize Christians for being too soft.
I've attacked Muhammad vehemently on my channel.
And you're pretty safe?
And I've never... Yeah, but I'm imagining the worst...
Okay, wait, no, you had...
The worst Muslim versus the worst Christian.
Remember when you went to the den?
Yeah.
Okay, how when you went to Hamza's den and all of that, how was your how did the Hamza people react to you? Like all the fans?
Very well.
Very well. Okay.
They only disliked
okay.
me after I talked to Nathan and said that I purposely had the strategy of being very nice and asking questions and being cordial.
I'm not. I don't mean to talk. Like maybe you understood me correctly. I don't mean. I'm not talking about the actual people in the panel. I'm talking about the Muslim.
In the yeah. No, you're right there. The treatment from the followers, I think, were worse than Christians.
Were worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah, I have great Muslim friends that treat me really, really well. I'm just saying on average, the average Christian follower of apologetics versus the Muslim. And a lot of them, wouldn't take that as a criticism. They take pride in being more. How do I frame this? Like, if I attack Muhammad and then they like either go anything from like insult me to like threaten to dox me, they're proud of that typically.
But you got to remember, I would say, I get the sense that a lot of the Islam followers, like on social media, are younger than Christians, and maybe that has something to do with it. And you got to remember that Islam is far behind Christianity. Like in terms of arguments,
you think it's farther behind Christianity. Yeah. I think, well, yeah, like a lot of Western philosophy and that apologetic stuff. I mean, they read Christian natural theology a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking of like figures like Muhammad Hijab, right? Like they look up to this guy. Like almost every Muslim I talk to, I ask them, "What do you think about Muhammad Hijab?" I think Muhammad Hijab is nuts, right? Yeah. But they all like this guy. It's just, so.
Yeah, and that's why I say they're mostly younger because
also, for me, it's
like an older Muslim looks at that guy and says he's a bit of a goofball. But the younger ones say, "Oh, I want to be big and strong." And
that might be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, do you feel like Christians emphasize the lovingness of God more so than Muslims?
Yes, definitely. Muslims are more authority and power.
And that makes it easier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like a 5-second delay.
Yeah, that makes it easier to kind of raise objections. I'm sorry, I don't know. But yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, because I have a lot of Muslim friends and stuff. I'm saying if I had to choose between average Muslim to talk to versus average Christian, I'd probably talk to the average Christian. But I didn't know what you thought.
Yeah, I guess I would slightly agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not scared of either of them. I got a dog.
I don't think I'm scared of either, but I mean, I've been some of the drama stuff that's going on though that I'm aware of is kind of scary though. People are threatening to dox, death threats. It's just kind of crazy.
For you
over the blasphemy, like because when they get mad at each other, they start. I have not, but what has happened is that like. In Muslim versus Christian stuff, like when people get heated, rather than cursing, because everyone condemns cursing, they blaspheme each other's religion, and then they get really heated, and then the death threats come out, and doxing comes out, personal stuff comes out. When it comes to blasphemy, it goes it goes crazy.
Yeah, this is the problem with religion in general, is that it's such a deeply held belief that they're not more dead inside, they're alive inside, and this is very important to them, and this is the problem. Like if they were a little bit more like me, they would probably leave the religion quicker. Okay. Anyhow, I'll let you go because there's a bit of a delay and it's a bit.
I gotta go. I'm at work. I'll see you.
See ya. He's working again? Yeah, base Christianity is love, base Islam is submission. I agree with that, but the thing is, there's similarities between Christianity and Islam. Christianity says you have to be a slave as well, slave to Christ. And Islam is about slavery. Be a slave to Allah. But what Christianity has that Islam doesn't is at least one interpretation of Jesus' words about loving your neighbor, turning the other cheek. Now, some versions of Christianity will say, well, that doesn't mean you can't defend yourself in war, whereas other Christians say, yeah, like Mennonites, for example. Who cares if someone wants to take over your land? Let them kill you. Uh-oh. You're back.
Well, I was listening to that young man you just spoke to, and he seems to think that he's God's gift to Muslim arguments about the. Sorry?
God's gift to women.
No, God's gift to Muslim argumentation against the Trinity. Like the logical problem of the Trinity has been going on for 1,000 years, and he seems to think that Muslims have just picked up on it. Well, there have been. There's a guy called Jake. He's the Muslim metaphysician who.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Who argued the point with James White about 2 years ago. These arguments have been going on for quite a while.
But you got to give him a little bit of grace. I know grace is not huge in Islam, but you got to give him grace because he's talking to Muslims on TikTok. TikTok, you know what that is?
Yeah, but he said that he was using Jake has been on TikTok as well for quite a while. Jake is a young man himself, the Muslim metaphysician. These are TikTok arguments. These are I'm not on TikTok myself.
But Christians don't listen to Jake. They'll listen to Danny because most Christians really find Islam repulsive. And so I understand what you're saying. And Danny, if you're listening, no offense, but Danny's saying nothing new. And I agree with you, Eats Eating. He's saying nothing new.
He was saying that Muslims on TikTok have taken the arguments from him, which maybe they some have. I don't want to take anything away from the guy. Something else that he said, he and also I think you agreed in, but you weren't sure. So I'll give you a pass on this. When you spoke, I was really impressed. I myself as well was really impressed by your discussion on Hamza's den when you first went on. Mm-hmm. And I noticed in your and you can go back to your comments on the comments that were posted on your own channel that were very positive. But then again, as you reminded Danny, it was only after you said that you're the sheep in the wolf in sheep's clothing, or whatever it was, whatever that
I don't consider that a wolf in sheep's clothing. I consider me just having a strategy and sticking to it, and like choosing. Yeah, like I can choose to be a dick to you right now and be really mean to you, but I won't do that. I choose not to.
And you chose not to with the Hamzas, and that was a really, really good conversation you had.
It was probably their best that they've ever had on their channel.
No. It was very sincere, and it's a pity that you didn't continue that strategy. I would have liked to have seen more of that. Anyway,
I would if they invited me back. Or no, they need to come on my show now. I went on theirs, and I want actually just one of them, any one of them, to come back on my show.
They don't want to give you the
exposure,
the exposure to increase your subscription.
Oh, what a convenient excuse!
But no, I'm sure that go back to them, and I'm sure you'll.
If they didn't want to give me exposure, then why did they allow me on their show?
They didn't know who you were. Maybe have you tried again, and they didn't ask you on? Have you ever tried again?
To go on? No.
Yeah.
Because I think I sure actually heard Hamza say on one of his live streams that he won't have me back on again, or he said very derogatory things about me.
Yeah, definitely. But and if you did get back on, you might, and if you did speak in that manner, I'm sure you'd get more people interested in what you've got to say and come onto your channel, like I have myself. But
the thing is, like just like with Danny. Anything I say, nothing's new. It's just the way I say it.
Nothing's new under the sun. Who was it? Was it Shakespeare? Perhaps someone else?
No, that was Solomon. Solomon said that in the Old Testament. Yeah. You Muslims don't understand the Old Testament. I mean, I get that.
No, we don't know the Bible, do we? we would say Solomon is our prophet as well. He's a Muslim, and something else you said that. Muslims' argumentation is behind Christian ones. Well, where did the great cosmological.
I'm talking about in like mass media, in the general public. I'm not talking about the specialized philosophers. No, I agree. There's something.
Okay,
The Kalam cosmological argument is Muslim.
and the versions of the contingency one as well. That was a favorite of the Muslim philosophers. But these are, as you said, that nothing's new under
Like,
the
do
sun.
Muslims have apologetic classes like Christians do?
We just learn it on the streets. No,
Yeah, that's my point.
Muslims are more interested in memorizing the Quran, praying 5 times a day.
They're in their bubble. They're more in their bubble.
In fact, the scholars, a lot of the more fundamental Muslim scholars, do not like philosophy at all. They advise the laity not to touch it with a barge pole. So, which is unfortunate, but what can we do?
Well, I respect the Muslims who say that. I'll let you go because I got Nick who wants on, and you've been on here twice. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Hello, Doc.
Hi, Nick.
I need your help. I need arguments against universalism. Can you provide me some?
Arguments against universalism. If universalism
a
is,
buddy of mine is gone. Go ahead.
If universalism is true, why did Jesus have to die a torturous death on the cross? If universalism is true, why didn't God just create people and put them all in heaven?
Okay.
Start with those two. Now, repeat back to me what the first thing I said to you.
If universalism is true, then why did Jesus have to die?
Yeah.
And if it's true, then why didn't God just put us all into heaven?
Yeah. So the common rebuttal to the first one is that most universalists are what they call Christus Victus, like that Jesus' death was mere an example of submission and nonviolent resolution to certain persecutions in the world, that he was basically an example. And then you could just reply something like, but then does that mean Jesus really needed to die? Like, he really didn't need to do that. He could have given an example that that didn't involve a torturous death on the cross. It really just puts tension on their worldview of this cross business. What did the atonement really mean? What does blood have to do with anything if universalism is true? Like right now, if you don't believe in universalism, you answer my first question by saying Jesus had to die because he was the perfect sacrifice. God is perfect. Heaven is perfect. We can't have any imperfections around God, even though he's omnipresent. And so therefore, a penalty had to be paid to who? We're not sure. Either to God or to Satan. And that's why Jesus had to die on the cross, because he was that perfect sacrifice. And if you don't accept that perfect sacrifice, then you can't be around God. But if universalism is true, there's nothing other than being around God. So the whole cross becomes irrelevant.
No. I see. Well, this buddy of mine is going to write his master thesis on this, so I just wanted to poke some questions that might be hard to answer.
My theory is the only reason why universalists exist is to try to get rid of the problem of evil.
Yeah, that might be the case. There are some church fathers that actually argumented for like universalism, but they also, like, some of them say, yeah, that hell is not eternal, that it's just some kind of purification thing, and then everybody gets saved.
Yeah, that's another answer to the question. But if there's this purification thing after you die, again, why was Jesus' death necessary? If people could actually get better evidence, you die and then, I'm still here. I mean, but I'm in some different realm of existence, and now I'm being purified in this place called hell. Okay, I now believe, and I'm now purified, and now I go to heaven. Like this whole business of being on earth and having to accept or reject the gift of salvation becomes moot.
Yeah, I think this is the discrepancy between a Greek Hellenistic view of God and like one from the Old Testament, which is basically, Iron Age view of God, which, like, I mean, God isn't even omnipresent in the Old Testament or all-knowing.
Right.
And then you have these clashes.
Yeah. The whole idea of God being omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, that really just started in the New Testament, or slightly before.
Yeah, in the Hellenistic era. Yeah.
Like in the Old
Of
Testament,
course, thanks to philosophy.
in the Old Testament, when it talks about God coming down to see what the Israelites are doing, I don't think that's just, what's the word, simile or metaphor? It's I think that the authors meant it to be, God literally had to come down to see what was going on. Now, there's Christians listening right now, they're going, what in the world is this stupid atheist talking about? And then to you, I'd say read a book.
You also have the story in Second Kings, where this guy takes earth with him from Israel to pray to God. And I think it's Elisha who he's talking to. He's like, yeah, go ahead, do that. And you're thinking, what? He's taking earth from the land with him so that he can worship God in his own country. Because God only has access to Israel.
Yeah.
And that's like, of course, if you read it, then you'll notice it. But that's the same for the other gods. Zeus was only you could only be worshipped in Greece.
Old Testament believers were all open theists, in my view.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'll let you go, Nick.
And the other stuff that, of course, I just want to say the other stuff that you might read in the Old Testament is just rhetoric.
Rhetoric?
Yeah, of course. Like, I'm like the only God there is in Isaiah, but that's just saying like.
You mean like hyperbole?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, when God says in the Old Testament, you should have no other gods before me. I'm the Most High God. He means it. I think the authors meant it, that there are other gods out there, and
exactly. Yeah.
This is just the top God.
Yeah.
Okay. See you, Nick.
Thank you. Ciao.
By the way, Heiser, who's now passed away, Dr. Heiser, he would agree with what I just said. That when the Old Testament says that there are other gods in the Old Testament that people believed in, that these were real gods, not figments of people's imaginations. But Yahweh was just better than all those gods. Way better. Way, way, way better. I mean, this God could do stuff. The other gods, they couldn't even light up water-soaked wood. But Yahweh could. Any Heiser fans, Christians in here? Heiser fans? Want to disagree with me? I remember asking Heiser on a live stream that if polytheism meant that more than one God exists, are you a polytheist? He did not like that question because he refuses to agree with that definition. But I said, if this is the definition, would you be a polytheist under that definition? And he refused to admit that he was a polytheist under that definition. Do you think the fact that there's no God makes revenge less destructive, more consequential, or about the same? No, I think when you believe there's a God who wants you to conquer land, it makes it worse. Because you think you have this false sense of confidence and hope. Like if you're an army and you think, oh, we're overwhelmed, there's no way we can win. Like take the Palestinian thing right now. This is why Hamas doesn't surrender. Because I don't know about Hamas. They're kind of weird. But if you truly believe that there's going to be a God to bail you out, you keep fighting and hope that this God's going to kick in at some point. If you're an atheist, you're kind of like, oh, we're outnumbered 10-1. They got better equipment. Okay, we surrender. I said earlier that if all Palestine became Mennonites, the war would be over. Well, if all the Palestinians became atheists, I think the same thing. Maybe. Actually, there's a chance that might not be true. Depends on, you still got the problem of the revenge for dead family members. But at some point, you got to face reality. Yeah, you killed my family, but you're going to kill me if I do anything about it, and I want to live. In the Old Testament, they didn't need Jesus to repent, and God thinks Old Testament believing in him is wicked. I'm not sure if believing in him is wicked, but I agree with the sentiment. The Old Testament's about do. The New Testament's about believe. This is why Islam exists. Islam didn't like that New Testament change and said, no, the Old Testament's more accurate. The Jews are more accurate. It is what you do, not what you believe. Who cares what you believe? It's what you do. You obey God or not? The New Testament still kept fragments of that in when they said things like, Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So they try to have it both ways. And to give the Christians credit, the Christian authors believe that in order for people to do the right thing, it has to come from within, and you have to have a change of heart. And there's truth to that. But you can have a bad heart and not do any bad things. I disagree with the whole idea of you can't have good fruit from a bad tree. It's possible, but not probable, maybe. Any theists want to come in? No, I won't review Danny's video if it's political. What percentage would you give on Jesus being a historical person? 65%. Not 66, not 64, 65. True, Stebbins. There is 1 Corinthians 6, or is it 9? I always mix it up. Where Paul gives a list of things that you can do that will prevent you from inheriting the kingdom of heaven. So I do think Christianity tries to have it both ways. Paul was about grace. There's nothing you can do to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Yet there's things you can do to prevent you from going. It's all grace, yet you still have to accept it. Actually, salvation alone in Christianity is a mess. And I think Christians, the smart ones, understand that there is, they might not use the word mess, but there is huge problems with the concept of salvation in Christianity. See, the Muslims say that it's all Allah. It's like there's a scale balance. It works how much you do. Christians think that's revolting, but in a way it makes more sense and is more pragmatic than this whole idea of belief. How much do you have to believe? How strongly do you have to believe it? They end up saying similar things to the Muslims. Well, if you really believe it, you're going to obey God and love him and obey him, which makes you look more like a Muslim. And then the whole issue of what actually saves you. Is it the obedience or is it the acceptance? If you say acceptance or obedience, it's still all on you and not on God. This is the problem with grace, and Calvinists understand this. That's why they exist. Doug, you're looking at Paul from a Protestant paradigm. Paul is not all about grace. He emphasizes works as well. Well, yes, of course. He talks about works as well. But notice what Jesus does not talk about. Jesus never utters the word grace. Do you know that? You won't find any red letters with the word grace in it. With Jesus, it's all about works. Obedience. Follow me, follow me, follow me. Do what I do. Do what I do. Give to the poor. Submit. Jesus was a Muslim. Eats eating likes me now. Yeah, he's listening. He's going, oh, man, how can Doug be so right about this and so wrong about that? Yeah, Jesus was about ethical behavior. According to Islam, faith is more important. For a non-practicing Muslim can leave hell and enter heaven, whilst a moral atheist can't enter heaven. I know some Muslims would disagree with you on that. In fact, I would say most Muslims would disagree with you. I think most Muslims would say, if you want to avoid paradise, if you don't want to go to paradise, the best way to do it is to become a Muslim, know the truth, and then purposely reject it and rebel against it and cause others to do so. That person's deserving of hell. But I bet you I could find many Muslims who says, Doug, do you give? Do you do charity? Do you do this? Do you do that? Do you help the orphans, the widows? They might say, hey, Allah is the final decider, and there's a good chance you'll go to heaven, paradise. Get your 72 virgins just like us. I don't know how many times I've had Muslims tell me, Doug, you're half right. I mean, you say there is no God, and we do too. We just add other than Allah at the end. The Admiral's back.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, Admiral. PineCreek, meet again.
We do. Remind everybody what kind of theist you are.
I'm not even a theist, so yeah.
You're not a theist.
Oh no, I am an agnostic spiritualist, but I wanted to discuss something because I was the guy who typed about how Muslims actually don't believe that deeds are as important as they claim they do.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, explain.
So, well, even you talk about how salvation in Christianity is a mess. I agree, but in Islam, it's equally a mess. For example, the most important deed Muslims have to do on a daily basis is pray 5 times a day. Within Islamic theology, the clergy are very divided on the following issue. That is, if a Muslim doesn't pray, is he still a Muslim or is he an apostate? This is actually a very big theological issue they have. And according to the majority, again, depends which denomination you ask, but according to the majority of Muslims, if a Muslim doesn't pray, but he believes in that which he needs to believe in, he's still a Muslim and he can get salvation. So yeah.
Well, don't most Muslims just punt it off and just say it's totally up to Allah?
Salvation.
Yeah.
Yes, but so the issue is this, they always, sure.
Yeah, and I think some Christians say the same thing. Ultimately, we don't know who's a true Christian and who's not, and it's up to God.
Yeah.
Except for yourself. Christians would say, I know for myself I'm going to heaven, but anybody else
Oh yeah,
no.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, depends. Muslims wouldn't say that easily. Like they would say, I hope I can enter heaven. That's the main issue they have.
They have hope that they're going to go to heaven.
Because according to the Muslim, for example, in Islamic theology, you could be a practicing Muslim until your death. But even at your deathbed, you can become an apostate and die as an unbeliever and enter hell for eternity. So, like, it's all in God's hands. And funny enough, you can actually point it out to us. And whenever you know that Elias guy, by the way, I don't want to sound mean, but I find that dude very like a smug. So you can point him out. But hold on, I could die as a Muslim, whilst you could die as a non-believer. That could happen, according to Islamic theology.
That you can die as a Muslim.
So well, both of us, we are Muslims or theists. Let's say tomorrow we become Muslims and we die. We go to heaven, and imagine Elias tomorrow also dies, but he dies upon disbelief. He goes to hell for eternity, whilst we are in the abode of everlasting pleasure.
Yeah, but Elias would almost sound like a Calvinist at that point and just say, well, if you become an apostate, you weren't ever a true Muslim to begin with.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But you couldn't say that, because then he would have issues with his own Islamic theology. So that would be an issue for him then. Because there were Muslims, for example, there were companions of his prophet who became Muslims later on. For example, there was a Muslim scribe who dictated or wrote the Quran for Muhammad. And during that process, he became an apostate. When Muhammad gained power, that apostate became a Muslim and died as a Muslim.
Okay. But I'm getting a little bored of this, but I do agree with you.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah. But I do agree with you that that you've convinced me that the salvation in Islam is just as messed up as Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the pointer.
No problem. Have a good day.
See ya. I need to get that Oscar playoff music instead of like the Titanic theme. Someone said something about Paul learned. Yeah, I'd make the case that Paul learned from Jesus himself, whereas other people starting churches bought into other doctrines. Seth, are you saying that Paul learned from Jesus when Jesus was walking on earth? Is that what you're saying? Because then you're going against the scriptures. If you're saying just through revelation, Yeah, that's the Bible says that. Everything that Paul learned and knew was from Revelation. I misspoke that. Okay, fair enough, Seth. We all misspeak once in a while. According to the Wichita Home Office, I misspeak about 2.7% of the time. They've done polling data on it. So it happens. Paul learned from Ringo. My daughter is starting to listen to the Beatles for some strange reason. She goes, I asked her, do you like the Beatles? It's all right. Not as good as Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's in, if you believe the New Testament, there's no way Paul talked and walked with Jesus. And if you believe he did, then you have to say the New Testament passages are wrong. Which they could be. I think Paul was in it for the money. And to alleviate guilt. Would not be surprised if the PineCreek theorem applied to Paul in some way. Maybe not a spouse, but a family member. Someone who close to him was a Christian. He said, I got to stop persecuting these Christians because then I got to persecute my friend. Do Mennonites believe in once saved, always saved? No. Well, Mennonites can differ on it, but I'd say in general, no. Mennonites would believe saved by grace, but they're more of the flavor of works-based. Do you want to talk about being an atheist and your wife and her family are coming for Thanksgiving? Yeah, I can talk about that briefly. Most of my wife's mom and dad are already dead, and she just has one brother, and they live 2,000 miles away. My family lives 2,000 miles away. I obeyed the scriptures, and when I got married, I cleaved unto my wife, and I moved away far, far away from my mom and dad and family, and became a real man. Thanksgiving, like we're going back for Christmas actually. Canada's already had their Thanksgiving, and we didn't go for that. And my guess is it'll be fine. It'll be just fine. They know I'm an atheist. They still love me. They're not the type of Christians to bring it up or argue with me on stuff. They just let it go. They have faith that God will draw me back someday. They don't worry about it. Which is a good lesson for all you Christians out there listening who have loved ones who've left Christianity. Where's your faith in God? Just let it go. You don't need to argue with your child, your brother, your sister. Don't you trust the Lord? That all things work for the good to those who follow him? Gotcha. It'd be interesting to see what I would do if my dad asked me during Christmas supper, Doug, would you give grace? Would you give thanks for the food? What would I do? I probably would do it, even though I don't believe I'm praying to any God. But, I'd say, okay, everybody please bow your heads. Oh Lord my God, thank you for this bountiful meal that we're about to partake in. May it soothe our bellies, give us nourishment, and we think about all those in need who have come before us, and even today who are suffering. Thank you for this country, that we may be able to pray like this. I mean, yada, yada, yada. I can play the part. Does it pain your wife that you're not a Christian? Oh, yes, it does pain my wife that I'm not a Christian, but I make up for it in coitus. Please, PineCreek, make the pain go away. She calls me PineCreek in the bedroom. It's much sexier that way. Sorry, dear, if you ever hear this. If your family says something dopey, do you want to argue with them? No. No. I can let it go. An analogy, good one. Danny's talking to Andrew right now? I told my wife I would come back to Christianity if PineCreek does. Well, that's fair. Me and Bucko, hand in hand. Back to Jesus. Yeah, thank you for thank you, Lord, I'm not a starving African right now. I usually thank the farmers. Thank you, Lord, for the farmers who do the tilling, the plowing. Thank you for the irrigation systems that we have. Thank you for those $1 million GPS-guided combines that you allowed us, mankind, to develop. Oh, it's a premiere? Oh, but he said it was political, right? No, isn't it about the Trinity?
A lot of research on what, like, the empirical benefits of a secular government versus a non-secular government. It might be the case that humans are better off with on theocracy. Now, I don't believe that, but that doesn't make it true, right?
Yeah, we'll let that one go. Let Danny get the views. If you want to watch that, you can go over to Danny's channel. Yeah, thank you for GMO corn. By the way, I prefer GMO foods over non-GMO. If you lied and said you found Jesus again, you could make a fortune and get a Christmas card from Mike Winger. I honestly think at this point, if I professed Christianity again, no one would believe me. Even if it were true, which I highly, highly doubt will ever happen. I think, well, who knows? Maybe some Christians would believe me. Wouldn't that be terrible? If I actually became a Christian again and 99% Christians never believe me? Ooh. I mean, double whammo. I do like pineapples on my pizza. Have you been following Mormon Bible scholar Dan McClellan? No. He is on 2 YouTube channels. I recommend him, and his book is free. He is working on new. Yeah, I really don't care about any of that stuff. And here's why. I think the issues of, for most people, not all, for most people, the issues of belief or non-belief go far, far deeper than the minutia of the Old Testament and New Testament. I'm a meta guy, asking the big generalized questions rather than who wrote, when was the book of Daniel written? I mean, like, you guys know this for yourselves. You can talk about slavery, for example, till you're blue in the face to some Christians and it won't make a dent. Why is that? Because there's a deeper psychological issue. And until you uncover the real reason for belief, all this talk about who wrote Daniel, did God condone slavery, the long ending in Mark, all that is irrelevant. Irrelevant. Now, is it fun? Can it be fun? Sure. Some people enjoy it, talking about all that stuff. How tall am I? 5'10". Question, is poof or drown realistic? Seth, I do not understand the question. What do you mean, is it realistic? In what way? I have no idea what you're really asking. I could just make it simple and say yes. I can make it simple and say no. I don't know. Are you a Christian, Seth? If you are, I invite you to talk to me face to face and explain to me what you mean by the question. Do you think is worth it storming Vice Rhino debate versus testify? Michael, you need to learn how to write. Try again. Or if your translator's here, can the translator explain to me what you're saying? I'm a Christian, but I can't join right now. Okay. Why is that? You're at work? When's the last time I went for a jog? Actually, just this morning. I ran 10 miles this morning, and I finally said, lady, take your purse. I like Dan, but I'm burnt out on scholarship. Yeah, I mean, I am too. And when you realize, like I've realized 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago at least, that scholarship doesn't make a dent to people's beliefs. It can, but typically doesn't. And you kind of go, then basically what you're doing as an atheist, and in most, I would say, well over 60%, 70% of the people who watch programs like Dan's, this is my guess, I could be wrong, they're already atheists. So all you're doing is making yourself feel good about being an atheist. Look how right I was. Okay, if you need that, go ahead. What I mean is that it would be more realistic for every baby to suddenly disappear, or would it add to the horror judgment, which seems the purpose of the flood? What I mean is that it'd be more realistic for every baby to... Is it more realistic for every baby to disappear painlessly? I think that's what you mean, poof. Or would it add to the horror of judgment, which seems the purpose of the flood? Okay, so you're saying it's not realistic. My guess is you're saying, as a Christian, it's not realistic to poof or drown because you needed the horror of the flood. Is that what you're saying? Now, poof or drown has a question mark behind it. It's a question. What do you say, Seth? So I'll ask the question here, Seth, and you give me an honest answer. I know you can't come on, but I'll do it via text. If you were in heaven with God, if God asked you, I'm going to exercise my justice either through poofing painlessly the toddlers, the children, and everybody else, or drowning. What say you? What's your preference? Do you say poof or drown? What is Laura Robinson doing these days? My guess is she's working as some type of associate professor, and therefore she stays off social media in an attempt to not lose her job. He's saying, let's storm the Vice Rhino debate with Testify. Thank you. His interpreter was here, Stephen. So they're debating right now? On whose channel? Doesn't look like it's on Testify's channel. I wonder if Vice Rhino got mad at me when I teased him about his bobbing head. Oh yeah, he's on.
Experts in the New Testament stuff.
No,
like
I
you,
didn't.
like
I said no. Hold up.
Okay, I've listened to 5 seconds of it, and I can tell you that Vice Rhino gets upset easily. We'll see if I'm right. What the world? $10,000 goal? Goal for what? For him? Give me $10,000 for this debate? Is that what's going on here? Oh, I got to show this. Look at this, guys. Oh, it's for charity. Okay. Vice Rhino, who has 83,000 subs. PineCreek. $17,000 subs. Hey, I got to be fair. If I do this to Cameron Bertuzzi from Capturing Christianity, I got to do this to atheist channels as well. Okay.
You said the biblical.
I said Old Testament.
I know, but
didn't say
earlier
New
you
Testament.
said the New Testament, like biblical scholarship, is a mess, and
Yeah, that's right.
you disregard the opinion of the when I.
Oh, and thank you, Seth, for answering. If I went simply by love, I would say poof. If the purpose was to judge and teach a lesson, I would say drown. Who are you going to teach a lesson to if everybody's dead, Seth? But thank you for answering. You would say poof. I would too.
Appeal to the scholarly consensus about what things say in the New Testament. You dismiss that because you don't like that field.
I don't know. No, I didn't say I didn't know about New Testament. I've been studying New Testament for the past 10
But like
years.
when I have appealed to the scholarly consensus that suggests X, Y, or Z, I forget exactly what it was, you basically dismiss the entire field.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're dismissing the opinion of the experts there.
No, I don't dismiss their entire field, okay?
Oh, come on. No, testify. That was a great answer. I loved it. So you just dismissed the entire field. Yeah, that's right. Now what are you going to do about it? I love that answer. Oh, but then he backpedaled.
But I will say I see huge problems with New Testament scholarship, epistemological problems. I'm not the only person to have noticed this.
The mythicists also notice that.
So what? Who cares?
I'm just saying
you want to equate me with QAnon and anti-vaxxers next? I mean, it's not the same thing. I'm sorry, but biblical scholarship is not.
Okay, testify. If you ever see this on my live stream, I'd be much nicer to you.
A incremental scientific discipline that just only improves over time. This is literary criticism that shifts over and over. Q wasn't consensus. Now Q is a consensus. Q is moving out of being consensus. The gospel
cares about Q?
And all that other stuff. Like there are people who have challenged it. People challenge stuff in biblical scholarship all the time. Kip Davis is a guy who I've had on my channel. I love the guy. Super smart guy. Expert
Canadian
at Dead Sea Scrolls. Like one of the top best.
Likes the Calgary Flames.
Awesome guy. But he's told me himself, like, one time I saw him in a chat and he's like, hey, consensus is against that. I'm like, Kip, do you hold any views
Yeah, consensus is also against Yahweh having a penis.
that are outside of biblical scholarly consensus? And he's like, yeah, I have to admit.
In fact, Testify should bring that up.
That I do. I could think of like a dozen. The biblical scholarship isn't monolith. There are people, I'm sure Bart Ehrman holds positions that are outside of biblical scholarly consensus.
It's one thing for a historian to hold a outside of consensus opinion. It's something completely different for us layfolk. Like
if you close your eyes, the guy in orange sounds like David Wood.
Best I have to go on is what the experts agree on.
I think if I have some basic training in like logic and philosophy and epistemology and different things like that, and then I look how they reason, and when I see discipline make a bunch of fallacious arguments, like consistently cherry picking to create developments, making arguments from silence, showing strong and strange bias against harmonization and different things like that, that in historical fields is a completely normal thing, then I can go, okay, that's weird. And so when somebody says, but consensus, it's my response to that is, well, if your entire discipline makes the same mistake in certain areas over and over and over again, it doesn't do me any good for you to say, yeah, but we all make that same mistake.
So what I would ask right now, if I was Vice Rhino, it says, what are the consensus of scholars missing? What do you know that they don't?
Yeah, but what I'm getting at though is that as a layperson, I'm not a historian. I'm not an expert in that field. You're not a historian. You're not an expert in that field. So why does either of us have a leg to stand on to say, like, when
that's similar to my question.
The experts agree on this?
Because I can think, because I can reason, because I can observe.
Yeah, but great answer by Testify.
They're literally the experts. Like you just.
If you show me that you know what you're talking about, I don't care if you have credentials. If you have credentials and you show me that you don't know what you're talking.
Okay, you know what? I actually kind of agree with Testify here. If you can show me you know what you're talking about, I don't. But it depends what you mean by experts. Like Vice Rhino can say, well, when I say expert, I mean, yeah, who cares if they have a PhD or a master's, but they're still an expert. An expert is someone who has looked at all the data, whatever. That'd be a great response to Testify here. But even companies like Facebook, Google, you don't have to have a degree anymore. You don't need a master's degree in computer engineering or coding or whatever. Just show them you know how to code, and they'll hire you. Bye-bye, universities.
I don't care about your credentials. I just don't. At least for that particular point that you're making, I don't. So when Paula Friedrichsen, super smart lady, biblical scholar, really smart person, but when she says that I think that the story of Stephen is an invention because, or at least Paul wasn't present when it happened.
Stephen the magician?
Stephen the martyr. Yeah, Stephen the martyr who got
the magician?
To death.
So not Stephen the magician.
No, not Simon.
Different
Magus.
Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. There's a lot of Simons. When she says, well, I think that's made up because Paul never mentions it. Why not? Come on. That is such a terrible argument from silence. Okay.
The argument from silence is a powerful argument. I have talked to Testify about this many times. The argument from silence is a very, very powerful argument, but it's based on expectations. If you expect something to be there and it's not there, the argument from silence is huge. And Paul does not mention a lot of things that I think, if people are honest with themselves, should have mentioned. Like, for example, Jesus being buried in a tomb.
That's awful. I had Matthew Harkey, again, skeptical friend of mine, say, you know what, Eric, one of the things...
And the tomb was found empty.
...that I like about your channel, at least, even though we disagree about a lot of stuff, is he's like, Bart Ehrman comes up with some cockamamie crap contradictions that are just garbage. And just because he's a scholar doesn't mean that, like, he's in a privileged position to make poopy arguments, you know? And so, like he's like, you're right about some of the things that he gets wrong.
Yeah, I'm not saying that scholars are inerrant and they get everything right. I'm just saying that as a layperson, I'm not in a position to look at the documents myself and be like, oh, I can come up with a better opinion than these guys can. or a better conclusion than these guys can. Like,
well, it depends. If all these experts are doing is just reading the same thing you're reading in the same language, I agree with Testify. The question is, or the issue is, that's probably not what's happening. They're looking at different documents in different languages, comparing them to other documents.
Well, I'm not the only person that just because I'm not a scholar doesn't mean that there aren't scholars who agree with me. I'm not just sitting there like doing everything completely from my armchair.
But most of them don't. Like, not even the Christian ones agree with your undesigned coincidences.
I don't care. Well, first of all, you don't know that. Second of all, not a lot of people have even looked at undesigned coincidences or even given it much of a fair hearing,
because it's not taken seriously. Like,
they don't ask.
Historians don't take it seriously.
Survey some scholars and ask them if they've even heard about it.
And the ones that don't take it seriously.
So, for example, Dale Allison does use a couple of examples of what actually are undesigned coincidences in his scholarly works. He is a biblical scholar. Nobody in the audience is going to dispute that. But when he was asked, what are undesigned coincidences? What are your opinions?
Okay, what Vice Rhino should ask next is, if this is like street epistemology stuff, if we do survey scholars, and let's say 1,000 of them, 1,000 of the people that we survey, 900 of them have heard about undesigned coincidences, have studied it, and still reject it, does that lower your confidence that undesigned coincidence is a good argument for the reliability of the Gospels? Lean yes, lean no.
Into that. And he's like, huh? What? Because he hasn't even heard about it.
Because it's not a thing that historians use. It's a methodology. It's a methodology that was invented by a.
And I even gave you an example of Jeffrey Tripp, a New Testament scholar who's trying to debunk undesigned coincidences, who found an actual undesigned coincidence and says, yeah, I think that this is a historical thing. Most of the people that I've talked to about this will at least admit, yes, undesigned coincidences could have evidential force. When I mentioned the one with Paul and the dudes coming from Macedonia.
I still struggle with, why are they even... Like, do you think Christians become Christians because of undesigned coincidences? Even Christians admit this is all about confidence boosts among Christians.
But they were very obviously talking about the exact same thing there. Like, it's not like just some
they
random...
are talking about the same thing, but it's based on actual true events.
Yeah, but it's not just some random reference to something that they had no reason to both be talking about. Like, they were both...
So the author of Acts says absolutely nothing about them giving him a big offering. He just says that he started working full time or stopped.
I've noticed that the minimal facts have gone from 12 facts when he first started talking about it to 6.
There's like 3, yeah. I know. I understand. Look, going on.
Yeah, now they're on the minimal facts. Testify is not a minimal facts person. He's a maximal facts person. He agrees actually with a lot of atheists that if you just take Paul's letters, no, you can't get there. Paul does leave a lot of things out. You need the Gospels to fill in the gaps.
Thing that I got to do later today, so I probably need to rest in between. But I could go another 15.
Okay.
Oh, good.
All right, so we've got 15 minutes to raise $575.
No, we can do it. That's easy.
$575?
Let's have the miraculous catch here. Anyway, that's terrible. That was terrible. I'm sorry. I'm a dad. I make really bad dad jokes that don't even land half the time. So anyway,
I mean, I've got 4-year-olds that tell me I'm making stupid jokes.
It'll get only worse from here.
Yeah,
trust me.
Oh,
where to go?
Yeah, no, like the conversation kind of petered out, and if we only have 15 minutes, I don't feel like...
Is he Canadian? Just from him saying petered out, Peter. I think he's Canadian, isn't he?
We can start anything back up, but
well, that's fine. I mean, that's no problem either. I want to help you raise this money because, again, I think it's great.
Apparently, you summoned Kip Davis.
Oh no,
Kip Davis is in the chat. Am I late? What's happening?
Kip. Oh, Kip, I mentioned your name. I one of the appearances, not Fatima, but another one, and I can't remember the exact place, but regardless, he attributed it to demonic spirits, and it's like, is that really where we're going right now? We're going to pull out the demon theory? Why couldn't a Jewish person just pull out the same thing for the resurrection of Jesus? And so
that is a very common apologetic to explain religious experiences in other religions.
Right? Yeah, and that's not something. But sure, I understand what you're saying.
And also, like, self-contradictory though. Like, how can you be 100% human and 100% God?
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong guy. Philosophy's my department. I'm more of a history guy. This is
I'm more of a history guy. What about a logic guy? How can you be 100% God, 100% man? I mean, I guess this is fun, but does it accomplish anything? I don't know. Like, if I were talking to testify, I would be asking much different questions. I would try to get right to the root of it. If I was to ask him, why do you believe Jesus rose from the dead? And he starts talking about undesigned coincidences, you know what I'd ask? I wouldn't ask about the consensus of scholarship. I would ask, well, how old were you when you became a Christian? Did you know about undesigned coincidences then? No. Well, then, undesigned coincidence is not the real reason why you became a Christian, right? No. It might be one just to help you stay a Christian, right? Yeah. By the way, I wish these would answer like I just did. Just when I ask a question, just say, no. Yeah. Uh-huh. I don't know. Oh, love those answers. Without feeling the need to bloviate. Anyhow. The room is open if any Christian wants to call in and have me ask you the deep questions that really matter. Why are we wasting time with this superfluous stuff? Who's this dude and why they're raising money? I actually don't know what they're raising money for some charity. The two dudes were Testify, who is how do I explain him? He's a Protestant, evangelical, born-again Christian, I would say. Pretty cookie-cutter American evangelical. Sorry to Testify, but it's true. And Vice Rhino is sounds to me like a Canadian atheist. Most fields are not reliable. I would only trust a degree in physics, and that person should only be an expert in physics. Well, I know what you're getting at. The thing is, in this hard sciences, when we talk about experts, technically, theoretically, a physicist should be able to present a paper with the methodology in it, and any Joe Blow on the street could replicate it and get the same result if you had the time and money. Technically, if you follow the protocol, the procedures, the methodology, step by step, and you get the same result, you can say, oh, wow, the expert was right. That's the great thing about science. Now, sometimes you have to be an expert to actually understand what you're doing and interpret the data. Like some type of machine, it's like, well, what does this mean? What does this graph mean? What's an x-axis? Like, if you don't even know that, then you're kind of stuck. My guess is if Adam and Eve in the story, the made-up story, wouldn't have eaten from either, what would have happened? They would have been in their same state of not knowing good from evil. And they would have still gotten eternal life, I guess. But not in heaven, just on earth? I don't know. I think the story in Genesis has a few plot holes. This is only possible for hard science. Other fields don't work like that. No, I think even in psychology you could replicate a lot of polling data. You just got to be able to do it correctly. I would say psychology is one of the easiest ones to replicate. Have a seat on my couch. Step 1. Have client, customer, sit on couch. Check. Step 2. Give client a bubble sheet of questionnaire and have them fill it in with their lead 2 pencil. Check. Same with the field of education. Step 1. Get out your crayons. Check. Vice Rhino is an anagram for Eric Hovind. See, like, whenever I see Eric Hovind put something on Twitter about the Earth being 6,000 years old, it is amazing to me how many knee-jerk reaction he gets from atheists, like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, just let it go. He's manipulating you, atheists. You realize that, right? The other day, this is probably a month ago, Cameron Bertuzzi from Capturing Christianity posted something, and a bunch of atheists just like started comment. And I commented it as well, but I said, my comment was, nice marketing strategy. Now, I'm not saying you can't comment and disagree with people or whatever, but so often Christians, theists on Twitter will just say things to get a rise out of atheists, and it works. I do that too. I say things to get a rise out of theists, and guess what? It works. And I've said this before. Don't let me manipulate you. Become more dead inside. You can still ask questions like, what do you mean by that? Use the Kokel method, Greg Kokel. PineCreek, did he respond? No, he... Capturing Christianity? No, didn't respond. But I did notice on Twitter, Capturing Christianity had me blocked for many years, or at least 1 or 2, and I'm no longer blocked. This gets back to what I was saying earlier about Christians don't know what to do with me. They find themselves agreeing with me on stuff, and yet vehemently disagreeing with me on other stuff. Can they really honestly believe it's 6,000 years old in this day and age? Yeah, of course, Anna Banana, Buddha Daza, Bizarra Duda. You know, people believe that the astrology and zodiac signs and crystals and... I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there that people believe. Demons, angels. Now, they could be right, but I need, show me the money. If you're a Christian listening right now and you believe in demons, I think you're crazy, but you can change my mind. Show me a demon. Other than just a person jumping up and down or frothing at the mouth. I mean, show me a real demon. Have a demon light my water-soaked napkin on fire. How long has human agriculture been around? My guess is 100,000 years. No, that's too much. I don't know. If humans, the question you have to really answer to answer that one is how long have humans been around? And it's anywhere from 200 to 400,000 years. And then they were hunters and gatherers mostly. And what do you mean by agriculture? Because surely they found a nice blueberry bush and found a way to move it and transplant it way long before more domesticated agriculture came around. You believe in demons, Jennifer? We don't need to eat plants. Careful, Travis. Someone could say you don't need to eat meat either. Did you ever think you had any prayers answered, Doug? Yes, of course. I used to be a Christian. Did I think that attribution of my prayers being answered from a deity was actually true? Do I believe that now? No. The best way to answer the prayer question is, if it's actually working, is pray for something that's a very low probability of happening on its own. Like a water-soaked napkin lighting on fire in the name of Jesus. Doug, have you read any Theodore Dalrymple? No. Do you think agriculture was the beginning of the downfall of humanity? Ooh. I know where you're going with that. I'm going to answer yes. Because I'm smart. Because you know what Anna's asking? Anna's asking, it's because of agriculture we got the Enlightenment and technology, and technology could be the thing that actually kills us. And if we were all still hunters and gatherers, we might have a better chance for survival. No off position on the genius switch. What are my views on infinite regress? I think that before the Big Bang, the whole concept of time is finicky and funny and has no meaning compared to how we view time. So the whole issue of infinite regress might be moot. Did I ever struggle with the assurance of salvation, or did you mostly assume you had it nailed? No, I think when I was younger, of course, I struggled with it. I would bet that in the branch of Christianity I came from, evangelical Christianity, Protestantism, even Catholicism, my guess is many Christians have struggled with their assurance. So we devolved into communities? Well, what Anna was getting at was, we as a species, agriculture helped our flourishing, but it could be the start of the end because of technology, AI, and then we go back down because we stopped hunting and gathering. See, how many road rage accidents or episodes have you seen? We did not evolve to drive and be stuck in traffic. The mental health problems that we have in society today, you can point to technology. Traffic jams, be on your cell phone all day, doing live streams for 3 hours. I should be out in the woods right now, sucking blueberries and killing beavers. But you don't kill Canadian geese. I mean, those gooses, you don't kill. They're a national treasure. But beavers you can kill. This is why I say, it's political, but this is why I say the solution to a lot of mental illnesses, depression, whatever, may not be drugs. They may be going back to hunting and gathering, i.e., well, I was going to say farming, but you know what I'm getting out in the fresh air, working with animals, tilling the land. Yeah, we need to walk barefoot. How many people here really know what it feels like to walk barefoot on a freshly tilled, plowed, or disked quarter section of land? I mean, it's a great feeling. It's similar to walking on the beach, but better, because the soil's thicker. I mean, how many people know the smell of taking a quarter section of land and flipping it over through tillage? The smells you get. Oh, I'm getting nostalgic just thinking about it. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Doug, do you like Stoic philosophy? I'll answer yes. I don't like philosophy. And I'm not even sure what is all entailed in the philosophy of Stoicism. But I'll still say yes. I like poker, Bill. I like poker, comma, Bill. Yeah, my dad would walk barefoot even in snow. When he told me the stories. 10 miles to school, uphill both ways. In 10 feet of snow. Oh, and that's the thing. Like, I live in Arizona now, and I'm looking forward to going back to Canada for Christmas. But a snow thawing in spring. Oh, I missed that. Just hearing the drips come off the roof and the eaves. I mean, having all the dog poop that was buried in snow come to light. It's a wonderful thing. When you live in Arizona, like, I have not had a white Christmas in at least 10 years, 6 years, 7 years. But my dad's told me a lot of stories, and I'm not sure how many of them are true. But my dad told me a story that his uncles said to get a plot of land ready for tillage. But there was tree stumps in the land. And the uncle said, here's some dynamite. Get rid of these tree stumps. And they were like 10, 11 years old. That shows you the difference between how life was back then to now. Giving 10, 11, 12-year-olds sticks of dynamite to get rid of trees. This is evolution at its finest. If you're stupid, you die. If you're smart, you live. Especially when you're working with sticks of dynamite. You got to be a pretty smart 10-year-old not to kill yourself with dynamite. Oh yeah, the smell of split wood. And I realize that most of you Americans have had white Christmases because you don't live in the desert like I do. But I miss it. And I remember as a kid going on the bus to school in the middle of winter and they would not let us into the school until a certain time. But I remember it was so cold one day, like minus 40 Fahrenheit and Celsius, that they actually let us in early. But they would not let us into the school, just into the foyer area. They had locked doors. And the foyer was heated. And I remember all us kids rushing in and just taking turns standing on top of the floor heaters. And that feeling of being so incredibly cold that every square inch of your body is just screaming in frigid pain, and then getting relief of that pain on those heaters, and your fingers start to tingle. You start, the feeling slowly comes back. For those of you who've actually experienced real cold and have been outside for a significant amount of time in real cold, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling of your body coming back to life, being resurrected. See how I tie it all together? Is an amazing feeling. Going snowmobiling for like 3 hours and then coming back into a house with a fireplace, and just every extremity on your limbs, just they're bubbly with excitement that they are no longer going to die. Why should you always buy a Baptist computer? Why? Last chance, Theist, call in. Can't be story time forever. Why should Baptists buy a computer? Because... Waiting for the punchline. So your files are once saved, always saved. Dun-dun-dun. That's good. Yeah, Sasha, I forgot that you went to the same high school as me, right? Oh, that's so weird. It's so weird. There's someone in a live stream right now who went to the same high school as me in a place 2,000 miles away from here, where I live now. That's just not right. Weird. And I don't know you, right? Yeah, next caller from Siberia. Nice story, bro. Hey, Canada's just as cold as Siberia, especially if you go way up north to Churchill or Dauphin or Nunavik. How many people even have heard of those names I just said? Growing up, I could see Russia from my house. Kidding. Circumcision. Great question, Christopher. Why did God create us with foreskins if he didn't want it? This is a great example of what I said very early on in this live stream, that the crazier the belief, the stronger the adherence. Circumcision is a great example of that. Cut off your foreskin for me. Stupid, crazy idea, right? But if you're walking along the road and you're circumcised and you meet another guy and, are you circumcised? Yeah. Oh, you're part of the same club. Why we do today, I'll never know. Oh, you're in Brandon every month or so. Yep, that's where I got my undergraduate degree. In Brandon, Manitoba. Home of the Wheat Kings. The king of wheat. What's the minimum age to talk to you? Hasky, you asked this before. I know you're 14. Hey, good memory, right? You have to be 18. What month does it start to warm up in Canada? Same in everywhere else, March. But there's been times where I think the snow didn't melt till May. Where are the callers at? Good question, Stefan. The callers, the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, they all love me. So they don't want to push back on me, and they don't want me to push back on them. They want to keep everything lovey-dovey. So they don't call. No, you got the joke wrong. How long? The joke goes, Franklin and I went to separate schools together. That's how you phrase it. But let me do some shout outs here before we wrap things up. Testify, if you hear this, you're welcome to come on again. You have to take initiative, not me. I've reached out to you several times. And lately, I think the last time you said, let's set something up or email me. But no, I want you to email me to show that you're serious. I don't want to take the effort out to wine and dine you and then be rejected. I just can't take that type of rejection in my life. I'm an atheist and I'm very fragile. So as the bigger man, I will invite you, but you have to take the first step of setting things up. Vice Rhino, you can talk to me as well. Oh, that'd be fun. Have I ever seen a bear, and do I have mosquitoes in Canada? And do I have mosquitoes in Canada? My New Zealand husband is asking. In the wild, I can honestly say I don't think I have ever seen a bear. But I've seen a moose that scared the pants off me. My dad, when I was 16, my dad commissioned me to go bring some corn seed to another farmer or pick some up, I forget. And there was bushes all around his driveway. On farms in Canada, usually the driveways are long. And so I'm driving and I turn the corner, bushes everywhere, green trees. Turn the corner and right in the middle of the road is this incredibly huge moose with a big rack of antlers and everything. I don't know exactly how tall it was, but imagine like, I don't know, 14, 20 feet. I don't know how high. It could have been 20 feet high if you count the top of the antlers. And it just looked at me like through the windshield like I was nothing. Like saying, hey, you want me to move? No, you move. I mean, the power and the majesty of that creature was amazing. I think I've seen elephants at the zoo. It was, imagine an African elephant like just staring you in the eyes when you turn a corner. It was that type of experience. Not as big as an African elephant, of course, but still, like, think of the biggest bull, bovine cow, bull, the biggest bull you've ever seen, and like multiply it by 2 or 3. Yeah, if I ever went to a Mexican prison, I would not want to hear Jesus say he loves me. Oh, we got a caller. Praise Jesus. Hi, Pablo.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'd say about 8.5.
Nice.
Are you a theist?
Theist, yes, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. You're a Christian?
Yes.
Roman Catholic?
No, but I was baptized against my will as a Roman Catholic, coming from a South American background.
Yeah, if your name's
Everybody-
Pablo, I would think you'd have to be Roman Catholic.
Yeah, I have pictures of it, so it happened. There's proof that I was baptized. My mom put it in a photo album.
But now
So I
you're a
got to see it.
Protestant?
Nope,
Orthodox?
not Protestant. If I ever had to convert to a sect, I think Eastern or Russian Orthodox or Armenian, one of those sounds pretty good.
So you're just plain Jane Christian?
Yeah, just picked up the Bible and started reading it. I guess they call them Christians now, whoever follows Christ.
Yeah, but there's still a difference between Catholics and, like, do you think Mary is something special, Jesus' mother?
Special.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
she was picked out of all the women to birth him, so she's special enough for that.
like do you pray to Mary or the saints?
No. Of
Okay,
course
so,
not.
yeah, so you're not a Catholic. You
So
don't pray to
what
idols
you-
on your
No,
wall?
all that is extra baggage. It's all of is what you call Christendom.
Yeah.
The Christendom that's taken over has put in extra baggage that is not biblical.
You're the type of guy who only has carry-on. You don't take the extra baggage.
Yeah, they've added a lot of extra admin and management to the whole role of the church. So I don't know if you're a Christian, but previous one, but there's a parable where he talks about the kingdom of heaven is like a tree that grows out, and then the crows and the birds of the air come make their nest. So you've heard of him talking about sheep's and wolves in sheep's clothing. So he's talking about all the churches. He's talking about
Who's
all
he?
the religions. The one who said those words and read in the gospel, in the testimony of Mark and Luke.
Oh,
and John
Jesus.
and all. Joshua, Jesus, if you're from my part of the world. Joshua, if you're in England. Yeshua, if you're
Oh,
Hebrew.
you're a black Israelite.
No,
No?
I'm not black. No, I'm
Oh.
Hispanic. Yeah.
You got something
Why,
against
no.
blacks?
No, not at all.
Well, you said no
Just
so
that-
quickly, and I
guess there is. I haven't met a Latin black Afro Pablo, but yeah, there could be one. I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Dominican Republican black Pablo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually are.
So what do you want to talk about? Let's get serious.
I don't know. I think sometimes a lot of people don't want to just take the time to read the minutia, put their nose down, grind it, and study the word out, be the scholarly pursuit that it's supposed to be.
But you just said you're against the extra baggage.
No. The extra baggage is the fluff of the churches. I'm talking about cracking the book open, reading the stuff, who wrote it, when was it written, what's the translation, what's the word study. Putting pieces together, finding the motifs, finding the picture of
What does
of
that
Christ
stuff matter?
It's the meta. You're talking about meta.
That's not meta. That's the opposite of meta. Like when a book was written, that's not meta.
Not what it's written, but what is actually contained in the story, the actual thing about the details of him smearing the lamb's blood on the wood post, about Joseph being sold into slavery by his brothers, and then telling his dad that he got eaten by lions, and then they bring back a coat full of blood to show that he actually was killed.
Well, I already know all the answers to those things. It's all about Jesus.
It's about everything's about Jesus. The whole thing about the woman, the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent, but his heel shall be bruised. That's the crucifixion. Psalms 22 is the crucifixion.
Can I ask you?
Can
I ask you a very important question?
Yes.
Why are you a Christian?
Because I wanted to read about it by myself. So I was brought up Roman Catholic. I had a friend I played soccer with. He was Brazilian. We went to he took us to church. I didn't like going to church, especially Catholic mass. I just went because I was hanging out with him. I didn't like anything about it, and then I started reading it. Then I went to high school, reading about the Catholic Church and the indulgences and the.
I didn't ask you for your biography. I'm asking you,
Okay.
what's the main reason you're a Christian?
Oh, the ancient prophecies that are already in record.
There you go. Because of prophecy. So because of prophecy, you think that the Bible's true.
Well, he says that's the way to test it. There's a way to test him. He says, "There's no other God like me. I can predict the future from the beginning." There's
Okay,
no other person that can do
excellent.
that.
You know, Pablo, I asked this question to many Christians, and this is one of the best answers you gave because it's very demonstrable and tangible. So, which is your favorite prophecy or most convincing?
Daniel 9, Daniel 9:20, the 70 weeks prophecy, where it goes to a mathematical precision of years that has to be calculated from the beginning of the decree to restart building the temple of Jerusalem for the second time.
How many? Okay, I got you. I'm familiar with Daniel 9, but let's
then it says that the anointed will be cut off before the destruction of the sanctuary, which happened in 70 AD by the Romans. The siege of Jerusalem happened.
Yeah.
And they leveled the city, and it took down the temple. Just
so
like
we need. You're going too much in depth. Like there's a lot of stupid people who watch my channel, so we need to kind of. For those of you from South Dakota, what Pablo is saying is that there's a prophecy in Daniel 9. Daniel's a book in the Bible that says that the Messiah will come at exactly a certain time in the future, and guess what? It happened, right? Right, Pablo?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me ask you some bullet point questions. How many interpretations of Daniel 9 are you aware of?
Maybe 2. The ones that I read in the blueletterbible.com that show.
I'm familiar with 3. No,
I mean
4.
it's the I mean English, whatever translates to English. Then it was Greek, but before that it was Hebrew. So,
no, I'm not talking about translations. I'm talking about people reading the exact same thing and coming to different conclusions.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was a Messianic Jew that showed me these prophecies, and he was the one that helped me put.
Okay, I didn't ask
together.
you who showed you this. I asked you how many different interpretations of the exact same thing. Right.
That was his interpretation.
But are you aware that there's more interpretations other than what this guy showed you?
Yeah, but if I can read myself, I can interpret text myself. I'm not, I know what Christ anointed means. I know what 70 means. I know what the sanctuary in Jerusalem and the temple.
Okay, but when there's a prophecy of 70 weeks, and for those of you who don't know, a week is 7 years. So 70 weeks is 490 years.
Right. That's where we get sabbatical years from.
So those secularists stealing from the Christians and Jews.
The land was supposed to lay rest. Israel being kicked off the land is another prophecy. And being regathered.
Well, let's stick on Daniel 9 here for a second. In order for that 70-week prophecy of 490 years, in order for that to be accurate, you need to know the starting point, right? And
Correct.
so then the clock starts running. It's like pressing your stopwatch.
Yes.
Are you aware that there's at least 4 different starting points?
No, I didn't. I was not aware. I'm aware there was one starting point.
So the Jews have one starting point. The secularists, those evil atheists in colleges, they have a starting point. And there's 2 different starting points for Christians.
Yeah, but regardless of starting point, the Messiah being cut off happens before the destruction.
Well, wait a minute.
Jerusalem. And that's the main mythology that you're saying that claim that happened 2,000 years ago.
In order for
Christ was killed.
In order for a prophecy about timing to be a good prophecy, it matters where you start the clock.
Fine. So that's your point of I'm saying the devil's in the details. You don't want to go into the minutia. Maybe there is a right way. Maybe there is 3 other wrong.
You hurt my feelings. I on my other computer in my other room, I could show you a spreadsheet. I spent like 40 hours, 4 years ago on this, and I toiled and I sweated. I went down deep. I forget most of it now, but I went down deep into this prophecy, and I found, and I had like timelines and spreadsheets, and it's like the Jews say one thing, the secularists say one thing, and Christians say 2 things. And then even the Christians will admit that there's like 3.5 or 3 years or so that you have to fiddle with. And it's...
Well, there's a missing week. It's all been 69
weeks
completed.
There's a missing week.
Is the last 7 years of the last tribulations. The last is the final piece, which we're going to coming up to sometime in the future, where Jerusalem again has to have their temple rebuilt. And they have to, again, do the sacrificial offerings. And that has to, again, be put to... It's a repeating pattern. The same thing happens over the Jewish people.
Okay, Pablo, I get you. I understand. But when I asked you, why do you believe?
Because of the Jewish people, because of Israel, because of the Bible, because of the biblical
You said prophecy
written by the Jews. Prophecies, because it was written in the Bible. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Bible has been translated over to many.
Did you become a Christian because of this?
Yeah, my mother was atheist. My grandfather was an atheist. My father was just a nominal Roman Catholic.
Okay, so you became a Christian because of stuff like
because of the evidence.
Daniel 9.
Daniel 9, Psalms 22, Isaiah 53.
How old were you when you
Proverbs
became
8.
a Christian?
College, so 20, 21, 20, 22 around there. I started reading, really focusing in, because that's what I did. I did my degree in geography. And
so you were a non-Christian when you were 18?
Correct. Yeah, I would like to say maybe I'm an ex-heathen. I don't know. I mean, I did pretty bad stuff. I'm not proud of, but
so
I know that it's wrong.
Let me get this straight.
I know that it's absolutely wrong. I believe in the world of absolutes, that there's certain things that are just absolutely wrong. Like there's no denying that.
I want you to tell me the truth. You're in college, you're 21, 22.
Yeah. You
read Daniel 9 and you study it and you become a Christian. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. I'm convinced. Yeah, I'm convinced of Bible prophecy that this has to be true. It's literally true.
Because I think you're the first person in history that first person I've ever encountered that actually became a Christian because of Daniel 9.
Yeah.
You're special.
And then I'm starting reading about Islam, and I'm even more convinced, even still, because they're trying to they basically go against the three things that make you a Christian. You got to believe that Jesus was God, he died, and he rose again. Those three things they don't want you to believe. It's a whole.
But you believe that?
Yes, of course. Those are the three things of the gospel. You have to believe he died, he was buried, and he rose again. If you don't believe that, you don't have anything.
Well, it's easy to believe that people died, but it's not easy to believe people rose again. So why do you believe that he rose again?
Because that's what people were saying, that he appeared to the people that were there during the time of the festival when everybody was required to be there. So he showed himself, and everybody saw him, and they all got spooked, and they all ran and told everybody else, and they all got killed for it.
Okay, I haven't done this in a while, but I want to do a thought experiment with you. Are you open to thought experiments?
Sure.
Okay. So imagine you and I are walking in a forest and we stumble upon something sticking out of the ground. You trip over it. I saw it and I didn't trip, but you tripped. So I take my hand and I pull you up. And then we look at the ground. What is this thing? And we start digging it up. And it's an old ancient book. And we open it up, and it says the weirdest things. Like it says that this guy flew across the Grand Canyon in northern Arizona, unaided, just flew. You look at me, and I look at you. I say, I don't believe this. Do you believe it?
No, because I guess I need the evidence.
Right,
I didn't see him fly.
Yeah,
I didn't see a guy
it's just
fly through. But...
It's just a claim, right? It's just the writing on paper. So you don't believe it either, right? Okay, and we keep reading, and the book is big. It has different sections. It has like different chapters, different books in it within the book. And one section of this big book has like 4 diary type sections. And it talks about this man flew in front of 500 people, flew in front of 12 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you believe it now?
So I'm picking up one diary in one location, one dusty diary that has no relevance to anything else.
No,
what I'm picking up?
We're holding a book and it has 4 separate diaries in it within the book.
A book that I found in the desert and that no one else knows about.
Well, we don't know. We don't know who knows about it and who doesn't. I'm just asking you.
For the thought experiment, am I the only person that knows about this book?
We don't know.
Okay.
All we know is we stumbled upon this book.
Then no, I wouldn't believe it because again, it's only one testimony, one book, in one place, and I don't know it.
No. In this book, hang on, Pablo. Let's be fair to the book. The book says there's 500 people who saw this guy fly,
right?
And several other people saw this person fly.
Yeah.
You don't believe what's written in that book?
No, because that to me, it's the act itself is silly. A man flying. I'm talking about the total destruction of a city, of a nation being torn apart by invaders, by Roman invaders who basically wiped out the nation of Israel.
We're talking about this book that we found, not about God and Jesus.
Thought experiment is very detailed. I'm talking about macro level, world changing events.
Why don't you believe? Why don't you believe the text?
Because it's one silly random act of whatever it could be. I don't know what it is. He's flying.
Okay, are you saying it's silly to fly across? Are you saying it's silly to fly?
No, I'm saying it's silly to believe on one account.
There isn't one account. The text says there's many accounts.
That's the text of saying the text is one account. The text is just one account. Everybody, and then we have
it's a big book with 60. It's a big book with 66 different books in it, Pablo.
Okay, they're all saying the same thing. If there's a network of people all saying the same thing about the same book, and we all believe and we're all convinced, then it lends more credibility. But if it's just one person, I don't know where this book came from. I don't know who wrote it. And if nobody else believes in it, there is a consensus here too. Like the reason why the church grew so big is because we believe that the Holy Spirit,
Pablo, slow down.
Filled it.
Slow down. You're going like super fast here. We're just talking about this book. Okay, well, let's say you and I.
The analogy is weak, is what I'm trying to get at. Because the macro events that I'm talking about are life-altering Exodus events where people are being killed in the Holocaust.
Pablo, you don't have to be defensive. You don't have to be defensive. Just relax. Take a deep breath. Okay. You're safe. I want you to stay a Christian. Everything's fine. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but let's say in this thought experiment, we both of us are very, very skeptical. But we take this book and we get in our car and we drive to get something to eat in northern Arizona, close to the Grand Canyon where we found this book. And wouldn't you know, we go into this small diner and we start talking to people about what we found in this book. And they go, yeah, we're familiar with the book. In fact, it dates back 2,000 years. That's when this guy flew. And there's many people, even in the small villages around here, who are followers of the Flying Man.
Yeah.
And
I believe in Quetzalcoatl. I believe in Apollo. I believe in all the other mythologies that you think that you're going to liken this one story to. They're all real. Those fairy tales are real. These things actually occurred and people witnessed it and they saw it. These half-human hybrid demigods that we all have.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you do believe the man flew now?
Yes. If enough people are now saying it and that they're all believing it and now there's a big mythology and a whole folklore behind it, then yes, I'm gonna believe that it is true because I think there's, again, the divine, the supernatural things that happen.
You're blowing my mind here. Natural. You are a very interesting person. You're blowing my mind. You're saying that if there's a whole bunch of people who believe it, if there's like a folklore behind it, then you're saying it's true?
Then I lend more credibility. I don't care if it's true or not because it doesn't do anything for me. Him flying around in space doesn't add or value to me. So
because isn't there a big following behind Islam?
Whether I believe it or not about this flying man, it's not going to determine, my eternal fate. So,
well, hang on, Pablo, you got to be careful here because when we were at this restaurant, as we were eating our apple pie dessert, we flipped to the end. There's a book called Revelation at the end of this book, and it talked about end times, and it talked about that if you put your trust in the flying man, he can save you from a place called hell and tribulation.
Do I have to do? So I just have to trust. That's all I got to do.
Well, it says in this book that you're saved, that the flying man saves you through grace, and it's no act of your own, but you still have to accept the gift.
Okay, so me accepting the gift is just trusting.
Yeah, faith.
Okay, faith.
Yeah.
What does that cost me?
Nothing. It's a free gift. Do you accept the flying man now?
That's what I'm saying. God is so generous. He gives you a free gift that you don't really have to do anything. All you have to do is trust. You don't have to go out and convert so many people. You don't have to knock on doors. You don't have to give so much money away. You don't have to do so many pens. There's no work for you to actually be saved.
Pablo, can I point out Pablo, I just need to point out some self-reflection about you, okay?
Okay.
I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm sure you're a great guy and you're a fantastic friend, brother, sister. Well, you're not a sister, but my point is when you came on and I started this thought experiment, you pushed back on it, but it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, it doesn't have this. Yeah. And then when I gave you that, then you said, okay, I believe it, but it doesn't matter. And because it's not about my salvation. And when I gave you that you're still pushing back.
Well, no, if it is about my salvation, and it's the only thing that is, right? It's not, this is not comparing, we're not competing against the actual Jesus of Nazareth, the Jewish religion, and the people that came before that. Are we comparing those two, or is it this is the only one that is there?
No, this is exclusive. In this book, it says
Okay.
that the flying man is the only way for salvation.
Fine, but do I have the other religions as well to compete along with it?
Yep.
Okay, then no, then I will still trump the Judeo-Christian worldview.
Well, this one came before Christianity, by the way.
Even better.
So you take a later revelation rather than the flying man?
No, I take a one that can actually be verifiable through history.
It is verified. It's in a book, and it has tradition.
No. There is no historical people saying that that the other scholars saying that yes, that
in the thought experiment
just like
there is.
Got,
Within the context of the thought experiment, there's actual text that says that many people saw him. There's 4 different diaries. There's a guy named Paul,
okay.
who wrote.
Oh, so we do have publications and peer-reviewed articles that these events were actually taking place in some place.
Oh yeah,
some remote area.
The University of Northern Arizona. There's a whole department on the flying man, where scholars they argue these things.
Fine. I believe.
Wouldn't you believe it? There's actually some scholars who think that the flying man never existed. I mean, but there's a guy named Bart who just laughs at them.
Yeah. So I would say, I believe the whole claim to be true. Everything that you're saying, I wouldn't put my trust in it because again, I'm already competing with Jesus, the Savior, Yeshua, God is my Savior. I'm already competing with the Exodus. You're competing with the Exodus story. Okay. You're competing with the Babylonian captivity. So I would still put
I got you. Is there any way that you would leave Christianity? Is there anything you could learn or see or experience that you say, no, Christianity's false? Is it possible that Christianity's false?
I think that's a good question. I mean, yeah, it is possible because we haven't been resurrected on Judgment Day, and we don't have 100% verifiable proof right in front of our eyes where we can't deny it. Here, I think this is the point of God. He wants us to leave the mystery so that we search for him, so that we can have faith. His currency that he deals with is faith. It's not, if he just made it known to everybody now, then there would be no reason to search for him. There would be no reason to if you're running.
Why do we need to search for him?
Because he wants to know, you can't have true fidelity. I can't be truly faithful to my wife if I can't be truly faithful to my wife if she's the only person that exists. She's the only woman on the earth.
No, but do you search for your wife?
Yes, of course. I actively.
Does she leave the home often in the evenings?
I wrote her letters. Yes, of course.
No, I'm saying you're married. You're married now, right?
Yeah, but I still make an effort.
And you have a relationship. You have a relationship with your wife, but that part of that relationship is not searching for her existence.
No. Of course not. But in this case, we the end of the story is we're going to be united. There's a whole marriage supper of the Lamb that happens where we all sit down and have a celebration. So it's coming. We're coming to
Pablo. If you want to talk to guys like me, here's some advice. You can take it or leave it, but you got to try to really refrain from preaching and just like just answer my questions, and then you can ask me questions. Like ask me something.
Sure. Okay.
I'll demonstrate the behavior I desire.
Do you agree with these atheists like Richard Dawkins who say that there's blind, pitiless indifference and it doesn't matter what we do, we're just singing to the dance of our DNA, and we're just reacting to our environment. This is just stimuli, and we're just basically pre-programmed biomechanical machines.
Okay, listen to my answer closely. Yes.
Okay.
Got another question?
I mean, it sounds kind of dark because anybody can then just say, well, it's just my environment that made me do this. Is just external forces. I had no choice. There's no free will.
Okay.
Then there's no mans rea.
I hear what you're saying, Pablo, but ask it in the form of a question. Take what I said.
Hold on, sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Sorry. I lost my connection. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
No.
Try refreshing.
Try this again.
Refresh.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll refresh.
I'm going to try to get Pablo here to take my answers and ask me. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I answered your question in one word. Now I'm going to encourage you to take my answer and ask more specific questions. Because you mentioned, like you said, it was dark and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Ask me about that.
So a criminal who commits a crime has no legal free will. I mean, they're not defined by the choices they make. It's just the circumstances they're in. It isn't what they do, it's what they are.
I know it's tough, but you need to really focus in on a question. What you did was you basically just made a statement without realizing it. So take some time.
How to form it.
Take some time. There's no rush. Just try to think of a good thing to ask me about me saying that I agree with Dawkins. Piddly indifference.
Yeah. So then, I mean, it just boils down. Are we just talking about arbitrary, opinions about? I'm saying we're talking about the determinist. I don't know how to follow up with that because it's such a dead end. It's like, okay, well then nothing really matters. So I don't know.
Well, let me help you. I'll help you ask questions. So you could ask me something like, okay, if we're just all prisoners to our DNA, then how do you account for moral accountability for criminals?
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Is that a good question? Yeah.
That's a good way to phrase it.
And I would say, okay, even if determinism is true, and we do dance to our DNA, as Dawkins said, we are still not omniscient. We're not all powerful. We can't see the future. And we do know that when we say things, it influences other people so that my actions can affect, even though I might just be a domino in a chain of dominoes, we don't know which way the domino is going to go. I still say things and do things that will affect the future, even though the future might not have a different path.
Yeah.
And I can still be open to the idea that maybe there's this idea of a multiverse where we actually have multiple futures, different timelines.
Okay.
Does that answer make sense to you?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's one way to reconcile it. I have an atheist uncle who always says, well, that's another way to look at it, because there's so many ways to look at it and there's no one right. So it's just, okay.
Would you be sad
cool story.
Yeah. Would you be sad if my worldview was correct and yours is wrong?
Yeah, it's a little depressing. Yeah, I do want there to be eternal life and joy and peace and no wars and no famines and no.
See, I don't want eternal life.
No.
But yeah, I do agree with you. It'd be good to have no wars.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But see, the thing is that when you have wars and all this thing, it's just nature acting upon nature. There's nothing else you can do about it. You can't stop the comet from extincting us all. And maybe that's the greater good for then the new species to evolve. It doesn't matter whether we're here or not.
But I could say the same thing about your worldview. Like God could kill all humanity with a
huge. He could. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Yeah. That's the people are scared of God, and that's why. Because he, in the blink of an eye, he can make everything disappear, go black, and nobody will know anything about it.
Are you scared of God?
There's a fear that you would think that powerful being has that potential to do.
Are you scared of God?
No, because then he's acted out to say, no, I'm here to sustain you. He wants to be a part of it. He doesn't want it to end. He wants to see it to completion. That's the thing. This God that I believe in cannot lie. He wants the full completion to his
But don't you believe God can punish you?
Oh yeah, my father can punish me too, and he has.
So you ought to be scared of God.
I was scared of my father growing up.
So let me ask you again. Are you scared of God?
There is a fear. Yeah, the beginning of wisdom is the fear.
Yeah.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
I was helping you get there. I didn't want to have to say the scripture for you.
But it's also fear. It's also fear is that there's nowhere to turn. You can't go anywhere. Like it's fear. Like you just that's all you have now, and you're gonna have to submit to it.
Okay, so you're fearful of my worldview because it sounds so dead and terrible, but you're also fearful of your own worldview.
Well, no, because I have an escape out. He gives us a free pass. He gives us that free gift where all we have to do is give thanks, and that's all he asks for. So I'm not fearful of that. I know I trust that if I public confess and I believe in my heart, which I really do, then I will be. If you call out his name, and you really do.
How do you know you really do?
There's nothing else I want. There's nothing else I really want there to be true to, you know?
Yeah, but
like, everything
don't
goes
your own
away,
scriptures say that people even cast out demons in Jesus' name, and Jesus said, "I never knew you"?
Yeah, because they're boasting about their works. They're saying, "Look what I did." It's not what you did. It's what Jesus did. You didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything?
No, we didn't do anything. The only thing we did to earn to heaven was to sin, so that He can actually wipe it clean. That's the only thing that we did.
Why are you going to heaven and I'm not?
Because you don't want to be with God. The person that wants to go to heaven wants to search out God. The person that wants to go to hell wants to go with his friends and do whatever he wants to do.
Okay, so it's my wants and desires which determines where I go.
Yeah, and He gives that to you. He gives you that free choice. You can choose to be eternally separated from Him.
Right. So it's it's my wants, desires, and choices that causes me my eternal destination.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be a lot like this. I believe this is a trial version that's going to look a lot like
I'm
this.
trapping you, Pablo.
How? Go ahead.
So if God has offered this gift to you, and if God has offered this gift to me, and I reject it and you accept it, that's what determines salvation, not God, correct?
Right. I guess what you're saying.
Where's the grace in that?
Yeah, I guess the grace is that we all deserve. We all deserve destruction. Like He shouldn't have. The whole thing is like the whole lump should have.
I know,
away.
but you're saying ultimately what causes the difference in our eternal salvation is us, not God.
Yeah, well, He wants everybody to repent. He really wants the whole world.
I know,
to
that doesn't negate what I just said.
But then He doesn't get what He wants. This is what I'm saying. He's not getting what He wants, but He's getting what.
Do you realize how the seriousness of what I just said is to you?
That God can't get what He wants, and that we have to.
That's what you said, not what I said.
Impose our will. Yeah.
I just
destroyed
destroyed 40% of the New Testament by getting you to agree that it's about what we want and not what God wants. Because about 40% of the New Testament is about grace.
But he doesn't determine He doesn't determine the fixed amount of grace that I'm only going to create this world to only have, 2 billion people have grace. It's whoever chooses to go in there.
Right. So where's the grace in that? If it's all us,
it's all available. You just got to get it.
Right. That means it's about us, not God.
But the only way to get it is because of what He did. It's Him that did it.
Yeah, but that's no different than saying
you didn't do anything. You're just accepting the gift. I didn't do anything to deserve a gift.
What do you mean you did? You're saying that the choice, the accepting, is not anything. That's something.
It is a choice. Yeah, and you have a choice to reject. But there you go. So you do have a will. So He's giving you. He's giving you a deal at the table. He's telling you take it or leave it.
Pablo, I'm going to trap you again here with your permission.
Okay.
If you're so adamant that's about choice, and yet you're assured, you have assurance you're going to heaven, right?
Yeah, that's the hope, that we have a guarantee that we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, but if you have free choice, doesn't that mean that maybe 2 years from now you might choose differently and then go to hell?
Correct. I could, yes.
Okay,
I could say,
Pablo.
I could be like the ones with the
how can you then tell me that you know that you're saved and going to heaven when 2 years from now you might become an atheist?
I'm sorry. Me personally, you're right. I'm saying you as a Christian who could be in my position. I'm speaking, I guess, in the general terms. Me from all the.
So you don't know you're going to heaven.
No. I do, because I feel confident enough. I just.
You feel it.
Well, it's not feeling it. There is with faith. You have to have some sort of faith. You feel everything. I feel,
But you just said faith is not 100%. So how do you're not 100% sure you're going to heaven, are you?
No, of course not. We're not 100% about anything, but there's enough to where I feel
okay.
secure.
So I got you to go from I know I'm going to heaven to I think maybe I am.
Yeah, that is the hope. And I mean,
there you go.
But yeah, there's a it's called the blessed hope, and we have that to look forward to. And it's a lot You're right. It's a balance, and there's a lot to
There you
try to
go.
like. What you're trying to do is break down the details of each aspect and how they work together.
But please don't
And I
cry
get that.
later because of I just made you think that you might go to hell.
No, not at all. No, I don't. No, of course not. I'm secure in my own thinking. Like I can rationalize and have my own thoughts, and
There you go.
I can figure things out on my own.
And I don't
need to be influenced.
Even if you do go to hell, I hear it's not that bad.
Well, it's sad. It's pretty bad for the serial killer and the rapist and those kind of peoples.
Yeah. Well, I'm a good guy,
Yeah.
so I'll be
So yeah,
poolside.
there's probably different. Yeah, there's probably different levels. You never know. There's probably some. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be a packed place. So you're gonna be dealing with those unsavory characters.
Hey, I gotta let you go, Pablo, because there's now people want to call in because you've
got it.
Yeah, but thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
See ya.
Take care.
Sorry, Vesna, but I gotta let John in because he could be a real theist.
Ooh, I'm online now. This is exciting.
It is exciting.
All right, I have a confession. I'm not a theist, but Pablo said a great many things that are just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
May I go to the word and look at the details as Pablo has encouraged us to do?
Well,
If not, then I'm fine to duck out.
what part of Canada are you from?
Busted. Ontario.
Have we talked before?
We talked recently. Economics.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. John, I agree with you. We could go through the scriptures and if Pablo's still listening, we could probably show him all the things he said that are contrary to what he said, but I really don't think it's fruitful and it's going to accomplish anything. Because remember, the reason why Pablo believes is because when I asked him to ask me questions, the first thing he thought of to ask me was about Richard Dawkins and hope, meaning, and purpose. That's the first place he went to. And he needs to believe this to have hope, meaning, and purpose. So it has nothing to do with the Bible, really. Agree?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know if you would think it would be profitable for the other atheists in the channel to hear a take in which the Bible's used so that Thanksgiving they can reply to all their excitable uncles who are asking them just to read the Bible. And then they can come back with some Bible verses and say, look, this part just doesn't make sense. And it's
Okay, I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. What did you want to say about the Bible?
I would just say, so he pointed out prophecy and
Yeah.
he pointed out assurance of salvation. And the thing that knocked things down for me is if you look at Hebrews 7:11, it is adamant that the Aaronic priesthood is over. But if you read through all of the Old Testament, especially the law, God is adamant that the priesthood is forever and that it can never end.
Okay, John, I hate to
So,
spoil this for you, but I can tell you with great confidence that what you just said is not going to make a dent to Christians.
Oh, no. It'll make them stop asking you. Not you personally, but if it keeps coming up at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Because basically what you're bringing up is apparent contradictions. And yeah, I feel it goes much deeper than that. But anyhow, thanks, John. I'm going to let Vesna in now.
Cool. Doodles.
Hebrews 7:11. Yeah. Get your Slurpee. You're very quiet, Vesna.
All right, I'm driving, so I don't know if this is going to work, so let me know.
That's better.
All right. Okay, I've got a microphone. So, yeah, hi.
Hi.
Oh, it's the other camera. So I wanted to talk about Ayaan Hirsi Ali, if that topic is still available.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I heard a very interesting video on the channel of the Ayn Rand Institute where they were discussing, there were these two guys discussing it. And they had a couple of interesting insights that I wanted to mention. One is the obvious one, which is that nowhere in Ayaan Hirsi Ali's blog post where she makes this announcement does she ever say anything that she believes about Christianity.
True.
She doesn't mention Jesus. She doesn't even mention the philosophy. She doesn't mention any of the specifics. At one point she says Christianity has everything, but she doesn't elaborate on what those things are.
Yeah.
Nor does she ever mention that she believes that there's a God, that God spoke to her, that she felt a feeling in her heart. It's like there's no belief in her belief. It does seem like it's more like I joined this team.
Well, there is one thing that she mentioned that brings some legitimacy to it, and that is existential angst. She admitted to that.
Yes, right. Existential angst, but she does not explain what it is in Christianity. I mean, she could have just as well say, I joined the chess club because I felt existential angst.
I like how you say that.
You know what? You see what I'm saying?
I say angst.
Because you're from Canada.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I don't know.
And I agree. And there's a lot of Christians who probably are as skeptical as us, and they're saying, well, she's probably a flag-waving, phony Christian. But it's good to have at least people say you're on your team.
I'm not skeptical. I'm puzzled. And before I move on to the next thing they talked about, I want to talk about something that the one guy said, I don't know his name, but he said early on where he said that she just wanted to find oh my goodness, he was so cynical and ascribing such a bad faith on her behalf. He said that it was a political move, and she wanted to join a bigger community of haters. He used that word.
Yeah.
So in other words, what he was saying is Ayaan Hirsi Ali is filled with hate, and she is simply looking for like a bigger club of haters because there are more haters. There's more Christians than atheists, and all of them are Islamophobes. So it's a very strange perspective, and it's also very it doesn't even make sense, because what took her so long to notice that there's more Christians than atheists?
Good point.
Yeah. And she said on the right wing. So what on earth? I wonder if I can flip my camera around while I'm at the red light. Nope, now I'm at a green light. So what? Oh yeah, and he also says on the right wing. Okay, so what? Also, he cited no evidence, and as far as I know, she's not right wing. Also, it sounded like he thinks that all Christians are right wing.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about that guy, whose name I do not recall.
Eats eating. That's his
so
name.
The other thing that eating.
Yeah.
Eating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like food.
Okay. Well, eating. Yes. Well, he didn't make. His point was asserted without evidence, and I don't think that when you gave your hypothetical example of the thing, well, you're speculating. I could speculate that she's a woman and she wishes she had children, and so I do not think that he had any idea that you were speaking hypothetically, like you were giving an example of another speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, I might, we could. A lot of people seem to have a lot of trouble with counterfactuals and hypotheticals, like the fellow that you were just talking to before, who could not understand that you were doing a flying man with somebody.
Yeah.
And this happens all the time with the flying man, because they say, but we need evidence, and you say, but the flying man has evidence, and they don't understand that you're saying, even though you say in the thought experiment, they're like, yeah, but in reality there's evidence.
So what's your theory,
for my
Vesna?
thing.
I got a couple
So-
theories. One theory is that they're stupid. Do you go with that theory, or?
Well, I mean, what does stupid mean? Does it mean that they have a low IQ?
Yeah.
Because they can probably do things like drive and type and stuff. Yeah, maybe.
Or
but
work
maybe it's,
at the grocery store as a teller. Yeah.
and- right, but maybe it's I think it's probably an epigenetic phenomenon where where a person who is raised with a certain kind of environment that's conducive to curiosity and critical thinking might not be very smart, but still could be open-minded. I mean, they might.
Yeah. My
be
other
as
theory is
smart
that
as
they're
they
just
were-
stubborn. They know where
probably
it's.
be.
My other theory is they're stubborn. They know where it's going, but they can't bring themselves to admit it.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's just restating the situation. That's not an explanation. That's just a description.
Okay, let me be more specific. The explanation is they're embarrassed, and they don't want to look embarrassed in front of 200, 300 people.
Oh, I see. Are they, let me see. That probably fits in. I see. So you're saying, what is it? Is it stupidity? Is it stubbornness? Is it embarrassment?
Yeah.
What causes this intractability?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps there are as many combinations of these unpleasant qualities as there are fingerprints. And that proves God, because there's so much infinite variety. How do you like that?
That's good. I'm just trying to figure out what that leather thing was. Is that your shoes? There was a burgundy leather something. Oh, that's your pants. Let's guess what kind of car she's driving just from this. Oh, it's a Nissan. You're driving you're driving an Accord is Honda, right? Nissan Sentra? I don't know.
What? No, in fact, you should be able to figure it out
A Rogue?
if you just have a little imagination and think about. But that's a good guess. You're thinking along the right lines. If you think about my whimsical sense of humor, then you'll know why this is a particular one that I had to have.
Is it? So you're saying it's an SUV? You're whimsical. Oh,
No,
the Kick.
it's not an SUV. Why did you say that?
Because
No.
I said Rogue and you said it was close.
No, because that has nothing to do. It's close because it has something to do with me specifically. If I may be so bold as to think that would
Pathfinder?
be an apt description of me. No,
Uh,
more personal
Versa?
and less about the meaning of the word. Yes, it's Vesna's Versa.
Yeah, there you go. I got skills. Vesna Versa sounds the same. Anyhow,
Yes.
I should let you go. I've been going 3
That's
hours
right.
already.
So, whoops, I turned the camera off. Okay. Oh, okay. Do you want to hear the other? Can I tell you the other point from the Ayn Rand people?
Okay, make it quick.
Because I said there's 2 points. One of them is kind of obvious, and that is that she doesn't have doctrine. And this doesn't mention doctrine. The second one is about they said that the Christianity has this love thy neighbor message in it, and that's what they think that she was going for. The not love thy neighbor, love thy enemy,
Right.
and turn the other cheek. And they think that that is destructive belief, as you may imagine, because it is the Ayn Rand Institute after all. And they say that it is a mistake, an unfortunate mistake, that there's so much on offer in different secular humanist traditions for foundations of morality, and instead of searching for them, she just sort of gave up on it and thought, okay, well, here's a philosophy with compassion. Here's a belief that is built on compassion. And then they went on and made a larger point that many atheists, they just stop at, well, atheism has nothing to offer in the way of morality, and they worry that that's why a lot of people feel uncomfortable with declaring themselves atheists, because they do feel compassion for other people, and then they, regardless of what they think the metaphysical reality may be, they can then subscribe to these whole systems that have something built into them, even if it's illogical and harmful. So it's actually I recommend that you listen to this. I think that it is I think that you would find it very interesting.
You think I'm going to learn anything though?
Yeah. Well, do I think that you will learn anything? Well, probably. I think that you would learn a different point of view. I mean, not a different point of view, but I think that you would learn some. They connect some dots, some interesting dots.
Okay.
I think that they would. Yeah, I think it might be interesting, and I think that you may find some interesting bits to play on your channel that would open up some discussions. And then there is the connection with the feel sorry forism that you like to talk about, because these are the only other people that I've heard who talk about who decry wokeism in terms of the feel sorry forism kind of language that you have expressed. And so there, I think that you may find some things that, I don't know, refine or expand.
Okay. Well, yeah, leave the link in the comment section of this video later, and I'll take a look at it.
Oh, okay. I will do that later. And by the way, I sent you email a long time ago that you never opened, and I think that you're still not getting my email. So the only way that I know how to talk to you about it is, well, I guess I could talk to you about it through the comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening.
So, yeah.
I think Myron doesn't like you, and he's deleting them.
He is the spawn of Satan. Oh no, he is Satan. Well, maybe Satan is his own spawn, just like God.
No, he's not Satan. Like, Satan doesn't like Myron either.
Oh, well, wait. Well, then who is Satan? Myron? I thought, is he a demon?
No, he's just a guy who's overpaid.
Guy. Oh, is he your unpaid intern?
No, we pay him. What do we pay you, Myron? $6 an hour? Yeah, and he's overpaid. Yeah, $6 an hour. Which is terrible because no, $6 US dollars an hour. But it's terrible because he has like 4 kids, and he's not a living wage, but his IQ is too low
that's
to make
more than $1 for each. That's $1.25 for each per hour. So he should be happy with that.
Well,
How do you like my math?
The home office at Wichita, Kansas, they send him some breadcrumbs to help feed the family, so he's fine.
Well, okay. Well, then he should. All right. In that case, carry on.
Okay, thanks for calling in, Vesna.
All right.
And be safe in your Versa.
Doug. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Myron is not real, says Sean Kelly. Have faith, Sean. I have texts. I have old texts. I have diaries to show that Myron is real. I think Matthew K. It came from the Babylonians. Because the Jews view the Satan as a messenger for God. Not against God, but for God. Does his bidding. Thank you, bucko. I believe in all the ancient mythologies. Well, good for you, Pablo. It's always good to have a hobby. Yeah, Myron appeared in front of 500. In fact, there's 221 people watching right now. Myron, say something. How you doing, man? See? That was Myron appearing in front of 215 people right now. See you guys.